Well, well, well. If it isn't me with a new microphone, isn't that just so much fun? Oh, I can't believe it. I've got a new microphone. Yeah, it's true. It's true. You know what? I also forgot to... I'm there on the screen. Can you see me? Oh, well. If it isn't me, wait a minute. What? Yeah. Today, I've messed up the schedule a little bit. Indeed, it is not. Oh, wait. Now I need to double check something real quick. I did change the title and everything. No, I didn't change the title. What the? Oh my gosh. Wait, let's see. I need to manually change this now. And that's my bad, actually. Today is, Chaos Zero Nightmare Day. Since, yeah, you know, I made a bit of a mistake. I did it on YouTube, and then I had assumed, because I always do YouTube last, that I had done it for Twitch as well. But turns out I hadn't. So it's fixed now. It's all done. And yes, I am going to be playing some more Chaos Zero Nightmare today. As I boot up the game. I'm not playing Devil May Cry 3 today, mainly because I felt doing 2 days in a row of Chaos Zero Nightmare during the weekend is a little bit off. I don't know, it's quite a bit. Not quite my tempo. Why do you suppose I threw a chair at you? Exactly. You know, it's not quite your tempo, but I figured it would be a good change of pace, which is a form of tempo. So, I don't know, maybe it works out. I think that, oh my gosh, can the game boot up? I think that at least swapping things around a little bit, helps, maybe. Are you rushing or dragging? I don't know. I don't know which one I'm doing. I couldn't say. So as I boot up the game, maybe it's audible, but I have changed my microphone. Oh my goodness, all the audios have also reset. Sure you do. No, I don't know. I don't know which one it is. I don't know. I'm rushing, I think. So, setting up my microphone was an ordeal. Oh my god. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or didn't he start at like 5, 6, 7, 8? I think he may have. And then, here we go. Full screening this. And then, okay, we can turn off the music now. And we can... So, am I rushing or dragging? Oh, you're dragging. You're dragging. Oh, man. Never mind. I need to swap the game to capture Chaos Zero Nightmare. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Oh my gosh. So you do know the difference. I do. It's just, I was keeping it to myself. Because, I can. And that brings us to the actual game. Oh, so, new microphone. Can't believe it. It only took way too long to realize that the reason why it wasn't being set up properly was because apparently Windows doesn't have some of the correct drivers. Ever played Punishing Gray Raven? No, but I have looked into it. Actually, let me pull it up if this is Punishing Gray Raven. Because I do actually have it on my search history. I just never played it. I think the one that I was more interested in was Snowbreak, actually. Dante and Virgil are in it. Actually, now that you mention it, I do remember that being the case. I do remember that they were in the game. It's just ever so surprising to me that they're in that game of all things. And to be fair, no pun intended, Yoko Taro just... I don't know, he always gets 2B to be in every single gacha game that he possibly can. She's in everything by this point. So, I feel like it would be harder to find a gacha game without her in it. I mean, maybe Blue Archive, but, you know, that's a different audience they're aiming for. So, not quite the same thing. Then there was actually the, what was it? Sinoalis? Sinoalis? Miyabi wants to make virtual pay. Yeah. Getting all of the Devil May Cry characters into Zenless Zone Zero would also be pretty wild. Okay, I've never done Sekred, so I don't know what this one's gonna be. Increased damage amount by 200% for each hit decreased on an attack card. I don't know what this means. Chill support? Oh, child. Oh, okay, okay. I understand now. Yeah, flubbed it there with a little bit of a misspelling. Oh, I can't believe it. He misspelled. Point at him and laugh. Oh, you know what? I just realized I forgot to make a post saying that I was going to begin streaming. Oh, okay, here we go. I'm live. And then I need to make a reply to that. I've been doing this every single day for a month, and yet I still somehow forget that I need to make these live posts and everything. It's my, one very small form of engagement on any kind of social media, because I'm otherwise completely inept at my ability to interact and engage with social media. But this thing, I don't know, I've played Yu-Gi-Oh! And somehow I can't rule lawyer my way out of this one. Increased damage amount by 200% for each hit decreased on an attack card. What is that supposed to mean? I don't know what that means. That doesn't sound like English. At least I'm not sure what to make out of it. Maybe it's like 200% more damage for each hit? So you're meant to play really high hits? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But besides, I'm thinking about it. 2B is also in Nikke. 2B, I wanted to say, was maybe in Sinoalis, because that was the whole... Yeah, I think she was at some point. She was eventually in the game, because it was together with Yoko Taro. Then... Thinking about it, and I can't name anything. To be fair, she's just in a lot of games. She also had a crossover in Soul Calibur, actually. So she's in more than just gacha games. She's in, anything between... few and far between, I suppose. Then, as for my route, I'll go down here. But yeah, trying to set up a new microphone, I don't know what it is with all of the Windows setups and everything, but man, they don't make it easy or anything like that. It's, genuinely pretty damn difficult. It's, not, I mean, yeah, in my case it was situationally downloading the drivers and everything, but as I got to my amp, I genuinely could not figure it out. It feels like I have to be led on to figure out how on earth to use it. I was genuinely sitting next to my amp for a good, hour or so, figuring out all of the little buttons and what I need to plug in. I mean, this is the first time, being generous to myself, this is the first time I've ever had to use an amp of some sort. So, not exactly used to it. And I was also having the contemplative thought today, is the Discord link up? No, but that is one of my next projects. So I have now, I have the schedule done, and then I have my new mic set up, and so now it's quite literally just a case... Yeah, now it's literally just a case of setting up the Discord server and making some content. I want to try get into traditional content or traditional media in sense of creating some videos. I wanted to do compilation videos of my, for lack of better words, experiences with, with Devil May Cry. Is that Senko? No, it isn't. But it would be so cute if it were Senko. Possible collab? When? It's Magna, is what her name is. She is a fox girl, or a wolf girl. I don't quite know. I would have to double check her profile, but yeah, she's quite cute. I actually really like most of the characters. My favorite one isn't among these, but Amogus? But it is a character called Reen, and she's really cute. I like her. As for collabs, though, Nikke is getting a collab soon. Or, well, quite literally in 2 hours, something like that, once maintenance goes down. And I'll probably be playing that. I don't know how to feel about all of the collabs happening whenever it comes to Nikke. I always find myself thinking, why am I playing this collab? It doesn't pertain to the story. I don't know if I actually like the collab characters. They don't really have the collab characters talk a whole lot, and despite how much I love the games, it's very difficult to get myself in the headspace of playing Nikke while also playing the collab story. Have you ever played Metal Gear Solid? So, I've played Metal Gear Solid Rising Revengeance, or Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, but I don't think I've actually played a proper, tried and true Metal Gear Solid game. I have watched partially some playthroughs of it, like with 5. Especially... yeah, I'm not gonna burst out into song, but yeah, when you can't even say my name. Oh, the soundtrack is so good. I really love all the incorporations of these old classic songs. And then there's Snake Eater. A thrill. It is such a good series overall. I do know some of the spoilers and whatnot to the whole series, mainly just because it is that popularized, and I mean, Kojimbo really has a game on his hands. Snake Eater! True. Indeed, it is Snake Eater. Plus, the whole Revolver Ocelot meme, the Metal Gear. And then the voice actor even joining in on the sound of his ass cheeks keep clapping and alerting the guards. Oh my gosh. Plus, like, so many recognized... Meow? So many recognizable sound effects come from that game. I guess because he meows? Oh my gosh. You know what? I think I'm vaguely remembering. I'm beginning to remember as I partially get into this. So... Well. Ocelot is goated. I just remember seeing a cutscene where he pisses himself. That's like my knowledge of him. Also, I don't think I'm gonna win this run. I think I'm actually gonna lose because I don't know how this Divine Epiphany is meant to work if you're meant to play with multi-hit characters or something. Because decreasing the amount of attacks for more damage, I don't get it. Ocelots are proud creatures. Proud creatures, you say? I don't know. He did kind of piss himself. He did kind of like make an accident in his pants. And Ocelot never lets his prey escape. Well, I don't know. We had Raiden show up at some point. Again, my whole knowledge of the series is very disjointed. Like, to the extent at which I only know some key points from random memes, from random clips, and so on that I've seen of it. Maybe it's worth considering playing it in the future. 12 shots. That's true. It's two revolvers. That's all he needed. And yeah, it could be worth playing eventually, someday, sometime. Though my backlog grows ever bigger, I'm noticing. I've got... Oh my gosh. Doctor, turn off my cringe inhibitors. Yeah. There's also memes of the soul, as they talk about in Revengeance. Because I do remember Revengeance very well. I played through that game 3 times or something like that. Though never with the DLCs. Almost forgot to tune in today. Hello. Hello! Welcome, welcome, welcome. I decided today that memes DNA of the soul... Woo! I mean, that's how Metal Gear Rising Revengeance even became as popular as it did, or even has so much of its staying power. But its music is insanely good. I'm going to completely quit this run. I don't get how this beta is meant to work. So, yeah, I'm skipping out on that one. That one didn't really work out quite well. At least I got some of the stuff from that. I mean... The music in Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is just nuts. It is like genuinely so memorable, so good, and also so memeable. I mean, which game soundtrack has, like, all songs you can sing to, all songs you probably know some of the lyrics to, every single boss is so memorable. Like, you've got Sundowner, you've got Monsoon, you've got, of course, the president himself, Senator Armstrong, or, well, to be president. Like, there's just no competing. Genuinely. He's a powerhouse. It's nanomachines, son. I feel like everything in that game came together to be more than the sum of its parts, and it just goes to show how well it came out as a result of that. Like, yeah, there are some really crappy interactions, I think. I could never get used to the fact that some of the dodging required me to not be in, like, dodge frames, kind of. So you always attack and you end up committing to, like, a certain amount of frames whenever you attack, and that I couldn't do. You're thirsty? Go drink some water, man. What? Virgil, you have to drink. Oh, water. If you like water, then you'd already like 70% of me. You know? It's apple juice. Apple juice I really like. It's probably one of my favorite juices. I'm trying to think now. There was, at one point, I think a study or something showing that people have more vivid dreams whenever they drink apple juice before going to sleep, and I don't know if that's an old wives' tale, but I heard it somewhere, and now it persists with me. I've never stopped thinking about it ever since, but I try to drink apple juice before going to sleep just because I think it will give me rad dreams, and maybe that's why I dream of, like, fantasy every single night instead of, I don't know, something remotely better for me. Isn't that with milk? I've never heard about it for milk. I've only ever heard about it for apple juice. That and something else. I swear I'm forgetting something else. There has to be one more that uses apple, or that makes for better dreams. I know that at least with milk and honey, people tend to drink that. That's very much like an old wives' tale, but when it comes to other things, I'm not quite sure. I drink 2 cups before bed of milk, and if it's milk, do you drink it straight from the source? Oh, of apple juice. Never mind. Whatever. Not as cool. Not as interesting. I'm sorry, Virgil, but you could have said of milk and then straight from the source. Like, you could have, I don't know, had the others of a cow just ready and prepped to go, but you chose that. Straight from the source. Yeah, straight from the source. Imagine it. You could have had it, like, right then and there. I don't know. It's who am I to judge? Clearly not. I mean, I'm all for it. You know, Virgil, if you want to come out that you drink milk straight from the source, I'm all for you. I respect that 100%. So, no need to be shy. Even if it was apple juice, you just had to clarify at the end of it. Well, yeah, straight from the source, the apple itself, straw and apple. I don't think you can drink an apple that way. I was watching a video earlier that showed up on X, formerly known as Twitter, and someone, yes you can, I think you're lying to me. Unless, like, you blend the core of an apple and you leave the shape of it hollow or intact and then the inside of it hollow, I feel like it would be really difficult to stick a straw in and actually suction out everything that you need. That just sounds... With magic, you should know. Yeah, but magic's different. What? You can't say that to me. You can't... That's messed up. What do you mean, with magic, I should know? Yeah, well, you clearly don't know how physics works. Eventually, the pressure would cause it to reach boiling point. In order to practice magic, you have to first know about physics. You have to know about the basic fundamentals as to how this works. And then you would be able to, well, perform magic better because you know how it works. Whatever. You get the point. No, with magic it's possible, and as a wizard you should know. I think you're making up excuses now. I think you're Source? You pulled it out your ass. I don't believe you. Also, Sister Brown, when you listen to my mic, does it sound better? Does it sound better? I've got a new microphone now. Wow. Yeah. Wow, indeed. Wow, indeed. I can't stop thinking about Caravan. You mean the game? Or what do you mean? Caravan? Caravan. Caravan Palace, like the band? What did he mean by this? You already had a great voice, so I guess you sound a bit better. Oh, thank you. Whoa. Wow. Strokes your chin. Oh, strokes your cheek. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. The jazz piece from Whiplash? Oh, okay. Yeah, I still haven't... I still not watched it. Not quite my tempo. Okay, no. What do you mean by that? Is there something wrong? Do you... No stroking? I'm just... It's out of the kindness of my heart that I do this. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. True. Gets down on in a squat. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that, but no. Come on. Why are you being so shy? You can trust me. I would love to stroke your cheek. I think we'll get on just fine. Yes, that one. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's so good. It's such a funny joke. I love seeing these, like, really dumb memes everywhere. I don't know, maybe I've just, like, become partially terminally online. Can you do a Virgil voice? I can only say something like, where's your motivation? Like that? I don't know if that was any good. Did that sound close enough? I don't think I can do Dante. Anytime I think of doing Dante's voice, it makes me feel like I need a shout. Foolishness, Dante. Foolishness. How does he pronounce Dante? Does he say it with like Dante or Dante? Like, I would imagine the EN dub is a little bit different, right? Maybe? I'm not quite sure. But, yeah, in speaking of, like, the new microphone and everything, when I was testing it out, I had the monitor setting on, because I have to plug it into my amp now, so I could listen in to what it sounds like, and talk really quiet, and it'll pick up my whispers. It's insane. It's really sensitive. I was so shocked that it was able to pick up my voice through whispering. Mic controls everything. Without strength, you can't protect anything, let alone yourself. You want me to try saying that? Might controls everything, and without strength, you can't protect anything, let alone yourself. I don't know. Like, Virgil's intonation is really quite difficult because I haven't... He speaks in such short sentences that I can't pick up on what his enunciation is like. Kinda? Yeah, I need a nerdy voice.
Might controls everything, and without strength, you can't protect anything, let alone yourself.
That sounds more like Marge, actually.
Might controls everything, and without strength, you can't protect anything, let alone yourself.
Nikki is downloading stuff, BRB. You've had how many hours with maintenance to download stuff? Oh my gosh. You're doing it now? Foolishness. Where's your motivation? More like an edgy nerd. You know, even though you're giving me these keywords to try and work with Virgil, I'm lacking direction, not motivation, with how to take this. I would probably have to listen to a couple of sound clips. You know what? After this, I'll listen to a couple of sound clips and maybe I'll come back with a better Virgil voice. I thought it would be 4 hours after the daily reset. No, the maintenance is on for like the next 2 hours-ish. Yeah, for the next 2 hours, I think. I don't know. In JST, it's 7 a.m. I don't know what it is for you. But at 7 a.m., it's going to swap over. So, or not swap over, but the maintenance will be done, and then we'll have the Lycaris recoil. I don't check their time announcements because it's not in my time zone, and I suck at figuring that out. What I use, if I ever travel and whatnot, is, like, on your phone, or even on Windows, but you can do it on Linux. You can set multiple clocks, and then you can have those multiple clocks running, and then whenever you click your time, you can see what the time zone is. at least on mobile as well, whenever I open up my clock app and I go to world clock, I've got every single one of them open, so I know exactly what time it is. But other than that, when I was creating my schedule, I do happen to use what was it, like Time Zone Buddy or something like that. But yeah, I would say if you can, maybe it's easier for you to like add a module or something. Yeah, I should do that. I think so. I think that'll help. At least on my clock app, I've got every single major time zone for whenever games. I have it for KST, Korean Standard Time. I have it for EST, for Eastern Standard Time. And then I have it for CDT, for Central Time as well. In the States. But besides that, yeah, it's a little bit tricky to convert it, I think. I mean, it is just a number that you convert, but something about calculating hours, I don't know, throws me off every single time. So I understand it completely. I mean, even when I was making my schedule, I'm using all of these tools just to convert back and forth because I don't remember what time zones everything is going to be in. So oh well. But, yeah, my gripes with setting up my microphone, oh my gosh. When I was trying to set it up, I ran into so many problems. Like, I set up the amp, and I set up the microphone, and it sounded okay, and I was like, finally, let me just begin listening to what my voice now sounds like. And I thought it sounded really good, but the only immediate glaring issue was that it was only coming out of it was only coming out of the left side. So I could only hear my voice on the left side of my earphones or any one of my audio outputs. And that was, I mean, that was so frustrating. It was really bad. And I spent so long trying to figure out. I recorded a demo of what my previous microphone sounded like, and then I recorded a new demo with my new microphone, and that sounded fine until it didn't, because I recorded it on mono, but even though I had recorded it on mono, it decided that it still didn't want to work on mono, so it would still play it as stereo, even though I had set it on mono. It was genuinely driving me insane. I don't know why that was happening, but after like 2.5 hours of fiddling around, I eventually found out it's because not my headphones, not my microphone, but my my amp needs a driver on Windows in order to work properly. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It doesn't work whatsoever. And I don't know why it doesn't just do as either Linux or as either as Linux or as Mac does, but why doesn't it just download the updates or the drivers with whatever piece of hardware that you've bought? That's my main confusion. So, not quite sure, not certain what's going on there, but oh well. Oh, when it's on counterattack, I think I'm gonna do fixed damage. Back will download the update after stream. Yeah, welcome back then. I was just talking. Oh wait, so that means that you were gone the entire time I was talking about my microphone? What the? We'll also check out Lycra's Recoil tonight. You know, I feel like I should watch it just because they've got a collab going on, but I feel like that's the marketing strategy then getting to me, which means that I will have fallen for it. Meaning that the collab being a marketing strategy, then me watching it means that the marketing strategy has worked, and unfortunate for me, I want to be immune to that stuff, so I will go anti all of this marketing and everything like that, which is my goal anyway. Yeah, I was only there when you told me about the clock. Oh my gosh, you don't even say hello and goodbye to me. Wow, you think too much about it? I'm not overthinking it, okay? I'm immune to propaganda. That's what I think. I said BRB. Oh my gosh. No, you didn't. You said, oh, I should do that, and then you said back. You little liar. You little liar. It probably didn't send through. Maybe your internet was being used up by the Nikkei download, and that was why? I'm not sure. But genuinely, there was no message saying BRB. Also, on that note, one of the other reasons for me changing up the schedule this week, I see Kaya isn't here, so I'm the punching bag now. Yeah, I was just about to mention, Kaya's not here today. So instead, it's just you and me. It's just you and me. And I don't know. I don't think this is Virgil's cup of tea, so I think he may have, like, dipped out. She also wasn't here yesterday. Yeah. You know, busy with real life stuff and vice versa. It makes sense. I feel like everyone's got their own stuff to deal with, but unfortunate she couldn't be here yesterday. And unfortunate she didn't see me complete the secret mission. I was so stoked that I managed to do it, and yet what? She didn't even get to see. Oh, I need a re-epiphany this one. So true. I know. It's just not fair. I think she should have been here to see it, but you know, when I eventually, and now I say this very hopefully, I'm going to set up a Discord server for my community, for us, whatever, to talk, and so I can post updates and whatnot. I'll, like, maybe cross-post or whatever with my, with X and whatever, I suppose. But I want to make a Discord community, and then I need to get into making traditional content. Like, genuinely, I need to begin making traditional content, because I think the discoverability of just streaming as I do now is really not that good. I know, like, oh, then you should maybe take some days off the streaming or whatever. I feel like that would be the first reaction. The hours that I would have spent streaming, I should instead spend just working on creating traditional content. But I do genuinely like making content as well, or at least love streaming every single day. So maybe, and I've been contemplating this, I don't know if this is the direction that I'll take things going forward, but I think maybe I reduce the hours that I spend streaming on certain days. So I start at the same time, no changes to the schedule there, but I reduce the overall hours on some days. Instead of doing 2 hours, that I will instead aim for like 1 or something like that, and then I will focus as well on mostly just creating content. I want to be able to genuinely produce something. I don't know, how does, like, I think I've asked this once before, but how do people feel generally about compilation content per se? Because that's one of the things that I'm not, like, fully certain of. I want to make content that's clips of me playing Devil May Cry and, like, screaming and going absolutely ballistic, but my issue is that it doesn't really feel like people watch certain funny moments anymore. Like, I could make, like, genuinely, I could make a bunch of clips of some of the mildly interesting stuff, or I could make a compilation clip, like a minute long, of me going through some of the levels, and then I can punch out, like, a bunch of them that way. Obviously, I think that would be of higher quality, and I know this is as well a dependence on what do I want to do, what kind of content do I want to do, etc. But I genuinely believe that it's also a case of what do people want to see. I watch those most of the time, compilations, because I don't watch streams as much, except you now, Lel. And I'm really, really grateful that you tune into my streams and that you talk in chat and whatnot. I think, especially since I haven't been putting out traditional content, that it is very difficult in order to kind of garner a level of following that would help people want to engage. So one of the main issues that I see with people streaming, or whenever I'm streaming and so on, and this is, well, of course, going to be partially biased because I'm in this situation currently, is going to be that because there is a certain level of chat engagement, if it's below a certain amount, people have a less likely tendency to want to engage. And as a result, you end up with primarily lurkers, if that. But I also feel that even if that was the case, you have to be at a certain amount of activity and multiple people talking at the same time to encourage people to want to talk more. At least, those are my thoughts on it. because it's something that I've come to notice just by streaming passively, because even some of the days that I was really popular out of nowhere, I didn't have very many people actually talking to begin with. And that was maybe the main difficulty. Like, one day when I was streaming Chaos Zero Nightmare, I ended up having 15 or 13 people watching concurrently, and that was really crazy. But the crazier thing was that none of them were talking. And to some extent, that felt like, am I streaming to people watching, or do they just not care? So it really depends. Whoa. Yeah, I know, right? I was Mr. Popular for a bit. And you have these phases where sometimes you just latch on. Like, it hooks on, and you get a whole bunch of people watching you concurrently. Or sometimes you get very slow days, like it was with, and it seems like to be, yesterday and today. So, not a whole lot of people tune in. People just sit in and chill, and there's nothing really wrong with that. I like to provide content in any way that entertains, but you don't end up having a whole lot of, like, audience interaction, or I guess it does become a little bit of audience capture, like who you bring in becomes a part of it and all, but I think it's also dependent on who and what you say. So whether or not they'll stick around, that's a completely different factor, right? I just think I want to be able to do both of those things. I want to be able to talk with people or talk with chatters, and to be able to stream and just talk to myself in the downtime where nothing's happening, which I'll, of course... Oh no, I think I accidentally used the wrong order for that. No, I didn't. Wait, yeah, okay, I'm fine. And so that's probably the main obstacle that I run into. It's that you want to create a variance in terms of content and what you want to do, but the fact that there is a difficulty in creating that level of variance is maybe one of the hurdles that I have now without creating some form of traditional content. So, as for how traditional content goes... Oops, sorry, that's me bumping the mic. I'm not used to the positioning of where this one is now. In terms of where traditional content goes, I'm thinking, I don't know about video essays. Video essays are a very long-term project and goal that I do maybe eventually want to work with, right? Because I've always wondered about making video essays, and I've always wanted to make video essays, but the main complication for me, at least, has been... am I able to edit videos good enough to justify, or like to do it justice, not to justify. But for instance, if I were to edit a 1 hour long video, yes, you could probably leave it on in the background, but for the people who actually want to watch it as the main thing on their screen, is that then something that they will actually pay attention to, or does it end up being something that's better in the background? That's something that I find is really hard to gauge, because I don't think my editing skills are there whatsoever. So in the back of my mind, I'd been thinking to myself, maybe it's better to wait a bit until I've got some experience than to go into making something like a video essay. But at the same time, like, making a video essay early and pouring all of my efforts into something will give me some form of attention. Like, how much time do you think should go towards making something truly good? And that's maybe a little bit of the dilemma. Making shorts would probably help you too. Most of the channels I sub to I found through shorts. For example, Legend of Evantris D&D podcast that I watch every day now, and I saw a vid interview with them where they said they were about to quit doing podcasts until they did shorts, and they exploded and they got stuff to do with Critical Role. Oh my gosh. Yeah. See, that's what I'm meaning. It's like very, very surprising. At the same time, like, I think shorts and discoverability in that sense are probably the way to go about things. The thing is, as well, is that with, like, Legends of Evantris, they seem like really cool people, and they have got such good banter between each other that is why I think it was, from the outset, already going to succeed once it became short-form content, because people wanted to tune in more. My issue is, like, at what point do I feel like I'm actually good enough with my content to be in a stand-alone format to then, I don't know, give it to other people to say, oh, do you like this? And then get feedback from that. Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, for instance, if I took some of the snippets of me playing Devil May Cry, maybe not all of it, right? Of course, not all of it. But maybe, let's say, like, 20% of it. I'm still watching through every single... Oh my gosh. Okay, nat 20. I'm still watching through every single bit of it in order to, well, try gauge whether or not it's something that people want to see and whether or not it's something people will like, and if it's even funny. But 10% of it will actually be useful and usable in terms of making a video. Some of my jokes maybe don't land, of course. That's a given. I don't expect all of them to land. It's just, I don't know, gauging audience interaction and wanting to do things perfectly the first time, I feel like is a really difficult thing to want to get over. At the end of the day, luck is a huge factor with getting a lot of viewers. Yeah, exactly. And it was the same case as I was mentioning whenever I was streaming and I managed to get like 15 people. I think it was 16, but maximum 13 concurrent viewers, because I think they have to stay in the stream a certain duration before it counts towards being, like, concurrent viewers or whatever. So yeah, I definitely think it's luck. You have to post at the right time, on the right day, in the right month, and maybe then you'll find that a lot of, like, your content will blow up if you manage to time these things right. And I think that's one of the things that I'm not entirely sure of, is when do I post it. I really need to get one of these, like, post scheduler or post manager apps, and I think that'll probably help me a lot. But I don't know. I think my main thing that I've been kind of concerned about whenever I think about creating shorts, about content creation, is how do I know when I'm ready for posting what it is I want to post. So for instance, like as mentioned, when it comes to creating short form content, yes, the obvious answer is to just go ahead and post it, but to me, I feel like, is it really something worth posting? Is this actually funny enough that people will want to watch it? I don't know. It reminds me a little bit of how older Let's Play channels worked with when I watch back on my Devil May Cry streams. So I think to myself, oh wow, maybe I am pretty funny. And then I think to myself the next day, like, oh gosh, I haven't edited this enough, this doesn't have, like, high enough quality. But I think I just need to suck it up, because what's going to end up happening, and this is already happening to me, is that I've got some of my first Devil May Cry streams, downloaded, and I began editing them, and like, I'm just not satisfied, I think is the thing. But I should just put it out. Again, I've got this perfectionist mindset where I think to myself, oh, I should really be focusing a lot on creating, like, really good content. But you've got to get over that hurdle of wanting to make something perfect on the first try in order to get into the routine of making it in the first place. It reminds me of the saying that doing 80% or 80% of the effort and the last 20% is usually, mostly, kind of, sort of, through refining or perfecting it. So you don't spend as much time just trying to get something done and making it perfect. You just get it done and then you push it out. And I think that's, like, the first step in creating some form of, like, viable content. And then I would imagine beyond that point that you create what is essentially a minimum viable product for yourself to know what you aim for. And of course, as you get better, your minimum viable product becomes better and better with time. I think getting to that point is probably the main difficulty, because you don't know when you've reached that point. So I don't know how things shape out to be, but either way, I think eventually I'll get there. I think just for now, I'm going to not spend as much time because I've created a massive backlog, and technically the DMC shorts that I've created are all from, like, 2 weeks ago by now. something like that. So I should really edit it, and then I'll be able to just push it out. Just edit it slightly, cut it all, and hopefully then, I think. So, I'm not sure what I would say that would help with this topic, but I think as long as you really enjoy doing it, it's worth it. Even if you get like 5 people to see your content, at least that's how I would look at it. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm meaning with like, I may as well just try push it out there. It's just a difficult mindset to... it's a difficult mindset to try and want to overcome, because I do, of course, want to overcome the mindset that I really should just, you know, do it. I should just post it. I should get something that looks reasonable out there. Hello, Allison Starlaris. Did I pronounce that right? Allison Starlaris. Oh my gosh. Is this... This isn't... There we go. Oh my goodness. What? That was an insane amount of attempts. Oh goodness. Yeah, jeez. Already has... Oh, come on. Maybe this one. Should I replace it when the card is exhausted? 25% damage amount, recover 5. It is plus 25% damage amount, though. That's the thing. So... Hello! True. Sorry, I just had to do that. Now I'm having to contemplate, rewind what my thought process was, because we were just talking about like the amount of effort that you have to put into something to eventually get it out. So like you put in 10% for 80% of the quality, and then like the last 20% is 90% of the effort, because you spend so much time refining and making it look perfect. But really, what do I swap? I'm about to start playing Chaos Zero Nightmare. Oh, really, really now? I hope you enjoy it. I really, really love Chaos Zero Nightmare. And I think, to be honest, you might as well. At least I hope so. Have you played very many roguelike deck builders outside of this before? Or what's your experience? What made you want to get into CZN? I think it's really fun. The new character especially, I think, is an amazing pickup to get into the game for. I know that it's usually a little bit misleading in some sense to say, like, oh, this character is like a must-roll or whatever, because technically this is a PvE game. You don't need to roll for anyone in particular, and you could do just as well with any of the basic units, but I think if you were really aiming for just a very versatile character, this new banner unit, 9, is probably the one that you want to go for. She is ludicrously good, like, really, really good, and it's, I think, quite hard to compete. And now I'm probably gonna preach this like gospel to some extent, but 9 is kind of a unique character in a sense that she has so much versatility that it kind of makes other combatant kits not seem as good. And that might be a little bit contentious. But what I mean by this is that if you look at all of her epiphanies, or some of her cards, like her unique cards, such as Hue, they all focus on a different sub-mechanic, and a lot of other characters don't really do that. You'll see them focus on maybe like 1 or 2, and then you get around to playing 9, and all of hers focus on like 4 to 5 different sub-mechanics, so you can like really spread out, and it's really, really versatile. It just looks interesting and a refresh from what I usually play. I'm a card gamer. Oh, really? Card gamer. Well, 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 fellow TCG player. What do you play, for the most part? I used to play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that was mostly because I had found an archetype that I really enjoy, which is why I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! I was one of those players. Not a combo, put you in a 30-minute unskippable cutscene as I play out my entire deck kind of player, but I was one of those players that just loved playing a single archetype and would try to become really good at it. But unfortunately, I don't mesh with meta. Other than that, I've played like Pokemon TCG Pocket. I've played a lot of like Shadowverse and everything. I do play Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, well, well. Hello then, fellow Yu-Gi-Oh! And TCG player. Yeah. I think, and I was very coincidental, actually. I had spoken previously once that I feel like Chaos Zero Nightmare is in a really interesting position, where it can kind of lean towards essentially feeling like Yu-Gi-Oh but single player. And I know, bear with me for a second. I know that sounds like a really crazy statement to make, but with how some of the cards are beginning to play out in Chaos Zero Nightmare, you can genuinely combo cards with conditionals that allow you to combo into other cards to then search for other cards to then play into the... So you get like the entire combo chain that you would have otherwise. I tend to play decks that aren't used in general, like Weather Painters. Yeah, rogue decks. I getcha, I getcha. I was a Labyrinth player, and I only play Labyrinth, and I play those really dumb gimmicky cards like Hat Trick, and I would so desperately try to get Hat Trick to work just because I thought it was hilarious to try get some of the landmine cards or the Goblin cards in Grave so that it would deal damage, affect damage. Man, I really love some of the really gimmicky Labyrinth decks that you can do, or just like shuffling the entire board back into hand and then just restarting from that. I know, it was, it probably was not fun for my opponents, but I was having fun, and that's what matters. No, probably that's not what matters. I know, because the issue with doing something like that is that I am creating this unskippable cutscene that people so dread in Yu-Gi-Oh! So I kind of get it. I mean, I did stop playing because I just couldn't deal with the endgame becoming what is essentially, your card is negated, I don't want you to play. Mind you, I love Yu-Gi-Oh! I criticize Yu-Gi-Oh! For some of its aspects in how I don't like what the end game becomes. So, in other words, once you've got a full board setup, because I really like the game. The game has so much potential. I adore the amount of combos that you can get out of it. But I do think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has so much more potential that they could use for something like, I don't know, with Genesis mode, if they add it to Master Duel, I will probably come back. I love the idea and the concept of Genesis, and the fact that it's not in Master Duel makes me really sad because I really want to be able to play it with like all my decks that I'd spent so long building up and everything. But when I say that Chaos Zero Nightmare feels very much like if you were to make Yu-Gi-Oh! Single player in PvE, it's because, for instance, and with this new seasonal updates, do I have a card? No, okay. I don't have it, but there are a couple of gear items or artifacts and so on that you can get in Chaos Zero Nightmares Season 2, which, when a condition is met, you can, like, gain a card, you draw a specific type of card. So if you go a full turn without playing this character's attack card, you generate an attack card for next turn, or if you end a turn with 1 AP or more, then you generate another card, or on even on odd turns you generate a card. So lots of these like really small conditionals that create these really big combo chains. And if there's anything I love about Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's the massive combo chains that you can make out of things that just don't seem like they would be able to chain together. I mean, I know very typically you either play something like Saruya or go into Zealantis when you re-summon to re-trigger on-summon effects whenever a card is negated. But very much in this, though, as said, it's beginning to lean more to that direction. It's not exactly there. You end up in situations like with the semi-roguelike modes called Divine Intervention. Oh my gosh, when a card is exhausted, increased damage amount of the next card used by 35%. That's so crazy. Okay, I need to get this, and I'm gonna put it on, yeah, Magna. He's gonna go insane here. Oh gosh, that's such a... Oh wait, I can't put it on 9. Oh, thank gosh. I foresaw this happening. Yeah. So they're leaning towards creating these combo things with what is Divine Interventions in this game. And how Divine Interventions work is that upon collecting like a certain amount of these like orbs or whatever, I forget what they're called, you roll to create a codex, and then once you've created the codex, there's a chance for it to be of mythic rarity, and the mythic rarity has a chance on top of that to be a Divine Intervention. And the Divine Intervention is a pure roguelike mode where you bring in your characters and you don't get any rewards besides like rewards that you can use for the weekly and the monthly shop, like at a quadrupled amount. So it's really, really cool in that sense that you can play this to what is essentially, okay, you don't have to play this to grind out the best rewards possible. You do your best, you bring out the rewards that you get from that, and you use that, like, to buy currency or upgrades for whenever you play the other modes. That much I really appreciate. The thing is, with that, is that it allows you to play with also these new fates, which are modifiers to the start of a run, that change how you play drastically. So the one I'm playing right now is for Dialos, and whenever I gain shield, I gain it at a double rate, and I also don't lose it at the end of the turn. So I also deal damage depending on how much shield I have, which is why I have so much, like a ridiculous amount of shield and just don't take damage, except from burn, as you're seeing there. But either way, I am playing with Divine Intervention, and it means that you can pull off some really crazy combos. There's another one. I think it was for Kirken. Kirken's, like, Kraken's? Kirken? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I could be pronouncing it completely wrong. The Divine Intervention for Kirken is that anytime you play a 2-cost or higher card, you draw 1, you gain 2 AP. So you essentially refund it. So there's a really cool interaction with that, where you can try to get the curse card, which changes the cost of your cards to be 2. So if you draw it, it changes a card to 2, which makes it cost 0, which then also draws you a card, which you can then go into another card for that either costs more. And so it incentivizes you to make your deck cost more. And it is just, I don't know, it's just such a cool mechanic. I really, really love how they did the Divine Interventions. And if anything, I'm thinking that maybe we'll get more things like this for Season 3, and I really hope so, because I want it to, and maybe this is a selfish request, I want it to be a little bit more like how Yu-Gi-Oh! Does its combos and everything, because I want to be able to play like through an entire hand that shuffles into another entire hand, and I just like completely pulverize an enemy just because I had this one really long combo thought out. I know, far-fetched dreams, but you know, I think it would be so much fun. Okay, I think it would be so good. I got another Dialos ones, and now. Okay, I've got one more, and then I need to get 200. So if you're just getting into Chaos Zero Nightmare, actually, I can go over a couple of the things that I think are pretty important, like if you're feeling stuck, maybe? Is there, like, anything that you're curious about? Because I've got more hours than I'd be willing to admit that I've got in Chaos Zero Nightmare. So if you're curious about anything, like, oh, is there a character that I should roll for? I'm more than happy to provide my grains and knowledge that I perhaps have, though I can't for sure say that I have every single character. I did recently get Kalipe and Chizuru, but my luck is not the best, so I can only speak on characters that I do have. And when I say my luck isn't the best, I really, really, really mean it's not the best. I'm talking like every single time for every banner so far, I have failed the coin flip. Every time. I have failed the coin flip. Thank you for following. Wonderful, wonderful. I do hope that you continue to watch streams in the future. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so every single time I have failed the coin flip. So I've hit maximum 70 rolls on every single banner up until this point, which means I did 4-9, for instance, 130 rolls just to get her. Like, a ridiculous amount. A ridiculous amount just to get her. And the same thing happened to me with Yuki, and the same thing happened to me with Serenial. And then I didn't roll for Narya. Also, as a little bit of a warning, I think they mentioned, it was mentioned, or at least hinted towards in the live stream for Chaos Zero Nightmare, that you should maybe save up once it begins to approach Season 3. it was asked whether or not there would be seasonal units that you wouldn't be able to get later on, and they said the only characters that you wouldn't be able to get on are seasonal units, and the next seasonal unit is for summer, and the next one is winter. And the question was then asked, will summer be season 3? And will we get a summer unit for then that is then also limited? And they didn't say yes, but they were like, maybe. Can't tell you, but maybe. So if you're planning on playing, I would say as soon as Season 3 is about to show up, just make sure you've got, like, enough for a spark. And that's one of the things as well that I'm really grateful for this game for, is it is actually really quite generous. I wasn't initially thinking this because, you know, after, like, the first week or so, or maybe a month, like let's say first week to a month, depending on how much you play. The first week to a month that you play, very often gachas will tend to be very, very generous. Basically lull you in, tell you, oh, it's going to be okay. You're going to get as many rolls as you can possibly dream of. You're going to be able to roll for every single character. And I've fallen for that a couple of times, okay? I've done this more than a couple of times, more than I'd be wanting to admit. But for Chaos Zero Nightmare, it was quite the case. So I've been playing for, well, since the first week the game launched, and I've been able to spark every single character. As mentioned, my luck has been terrible. I have had to, genuinely, I've had to roll for every single character and spark them, because my luck has been that bad. Contaminated helmet I'm gonna go for, because it's more exploration rewards, sorry. So I failed every single, like, coin flip. I've hit max pity every single time. Despite that, I still have enough to spark. I've still got about, I think, 41,000, 42,000, I think, gems. And I think you need around, I would have to double check. It's like 16k for a single max or hard pity, and then it's about 32k for a guaranteed spark. So in terms of that, I think it's been very generous. So in the beginning, I would say just make sure that you're not spending crystals on the standard banner, of course. I feel like that's maybe ingrained in gacha culture by this point, that you never ever spend gems on the standard banner. You just have to save, and you have to, or well, at least with this one, you can just save up, and then eventually you'll get enough free pulls on the basic banner, and you'll be able to pick whichever 5-star you want. And for that one, I chose Reen. I know that she's not like the best unit, but tier lists to me don't matter in a PvE game, genuinely. Like, with this, you're only ever going to be competing mostly against yourself. Yes, there's going to be some score attacks, so maybe you can take it out of context and say like, oh, but what if you want to achieve top 10 or top 5 or something like that in the in the whole world? And I tell you, well, that's insane and good luck to you. But I'm never going to get to that point. While I absolutely adore this game, I'm not nearly good enough, and I don't think I'll be spending that much to get into the top 10. So maybe I won't do that. We'll have to see how much I will eventually. Maybe there'll come a day where Reen alt is added, and I think to myself, wow, I really should have spent, I don't know, $2 quadrillion on this. So at least for now, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, at least when it comes to PvE games, I genuinely think that you don't have to spend, and because of the generosity of this game, they basically give you enough to be able to spark for multiple characters over and over again. At least I've been able to do it 4 times so far, and I will be able to do it a 5th time, or I am able to do it a 5th time. But I like to hoard my resources, and I also don't go for duplicates of a character. So you can kind of take that as you will. I don't think there's a, at least it's not necessitated that you roll for multiple dupes of a character. Like, yes, you can. Yes, it will help some of your damage. It will, for sure, make some content easier for you, or some characters will gain versatility for it. But it's definitely not a requirement, and I think you can definitely get by without the need for that. I've got only, I think I've got 1 5-star, and it's Luke. He's the only character that I have dupes of, but I never play him. Every single one of these characters, and the ones I'm playing right now, actually, they're all just 0 dupes. So I've not needed any of them, and I'm clearing divine interventions. I cleared a level 122 codex, and I've gone to level 155 in the Spiral Tower of Screams, which is like not an infinite mode, but it's meant to be the challenging difficulty mode. At least that's what it seems like. So if you're worried about having to spend a lot, I would say you don't have to be. At least so far, so good. We'll see when it comes to the seasonal unit. I don't think they'll do anything that like pulls the rug from underneath us. Plus, if anything, this feels like a really fun, and it is. Sorry, I shouldn't say it feels fun to play, because it is fun to play. I really enjoy playing this game in my free time, and that's why I pick it as like my Zatsu game, where I speak at the same time while playing, because I can talk and read chats and do all of these things while playing the game, because I play this game so much, even without having to care about the seasonal content. I just play this game because now that they've got divine interventions, I'm not playing this for a really good deck. I'm playing this because I like it. Yeah, I'm addicted to gacha, but I love roguelike deck builders. It's everything I love. So it's a lot of fun to play. And I don't know, when I think of what the future of Chaos Zero Nightmare might look like, it's a little bit difficult to say, because I feel like some of the characters that we've had, at least with the leaks, I think the leaks aren't actually going to be up to date anymore, because they've kind of changed around the release order of some things. So initially, when the game was coming out, we did have a couple of leaks, and there were like some names, some NPCs, then some NPCs that were going to be playable, or at least they looked like they were playable. I don't know if that is the case. Hello, hello. I didn't think you would be able to make it today, Kaya, but happy to have you here. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so for the leaks, we had like a couple of details, like, oh yeah, we know that possibly this character was going to be playable eventually, but we're not entirely sure. I'm on a bus right now. Okay. Calling in from the bus. Fair enough. We didn't know if that was actually going to be playable, or some of these characters were going to be playable or not, or whether or not they would just be... Sorry, I'm stumbling over my own words. Whether or not these characters would be playable, or if they were just teased, you know? Because leaks are very difficult to gauge. So usually a character will be not intentionally leaked, of course. I don't think anyone intentionally leaks characters from a gacha game. But characters will often go more than a couple design revisions before they decide, you know what, maybe we should change some of this up a little bit. And so, at least with Nikke, there were quite a few leaks around, I think, early October of like 2022, and some of those characters... Oh, I just wanted to say hi, don't want to spend my charge much. Bye. Take care, Kaya, and have a safe trip as well. So in Nikke, they've revised some of the designs like quite a bit and whatnot. In Chaos Zero Nightmare, I am like almost certain that they will do the same thing, though to what extent I couldn't say. But some of the leaks showed characters and had very, very vague descriptions of what each of them would do. I don't remember the names, but there was one character that was meant to inflict a bunch of debuffs and use daggers. Then there was a character that was meant to rely on a lot of multi-hits. Then there was this girl with a mirror and a ghost or a poltergeist coming out of it. So there were a couple of them, but I don't think they're accurate anymore. And yeah, it might be possible to say that they're just in a different release order, because Yuki and Sereniel and Narya released in the order that we saw the leaks come out for it. But since then, with 9 and the roadmap for 2026, or at least this whole season, that hasn't been in order. That's been in a completely different order, so we don't quite know. So I wouldn't be, like, overly concerned, but for the future, I think with characters, they might make them more versatile, or maybe it's just what they're doing with Vanguards, because we had a period where we had a lot of controllers, where we had a lot of DPS, and so possibly, potentially, maybe, they're going to focus on making characters more versatile with more, I don't know, epiphanies that you can go into, or with different sub-mechanics that they play into. So for instance, with 9, and why I say that she's a little bit of a unique case, is because comparatively, if you look at characters like Yuki, who have the inspiration effect, who have the like self-card draw as a result of, well, her cards doing that, and the AoE attacks, let's be generous and say that these are 3 different effects, 3 separate effects that she is using in order to create what is the essence of Yuki. In that sense, we've got 9 now, who focuses on 5 to 6 different sub-mechanics, because she's got exhaustion, so all of her, or some of her cards at least exhaust, or some of them exhaust other cards. We've got ignition, where her cards decreased in cost depending on the amount of cards exhausted. Then we also have honed edge from Counterblade, where either it can trigger Hue, so you can create a Hue deck, which is really, really good. I think for now it's like the best way of creating DPS, or you can have it coincide with counterattack. So already you've got 4, and we've only gone through 2 of the cards, but then you can also make her do AoE through Massacre, like I'm using right now, and that one is also really good. So 5 just from that, and then you can also make her focus on shield. So her Hue attack card can now generate shield, and that's also just nuts. There are so many directions that you can take 9 in with her final kit that I think the direction going forward, at least for future characters, I think should be to make them equally as versatile, or at least allow for more cards that do different things with their later epiphanies. So I don't know how they'll do alts. Of course, we're not even in this phase of the game yet where we maybe should be considering alts, but I like to imagine it anyway. Like, they added a new lobby retroactively for Amir, so I would imagine that they've got alts on their mind eventually. But if they were to add alts, my biggest hope would be that you can swap out cards between the regular version or the alt version, so you can customize your deck going into Chaos before you decide to. I don't know if that becomes like a mechanic to further customize decks, or if they want to try keep them separate, or how they'll eventually go about that, but I do think that giving players the ability to have more deck versatility for other characters is probably the way to go. Not only because does it open up a lot of different combos in that sense, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel each time, because one of the main issues, or one of the difficulties that I think ends up happening, is that once you get to a certain point in a game's lifetime, you end up creating very similar cards, or you end up creating characters around similar principles, or the last option is that you create characters which only supplement specific characters or specific playstyles, which you could argue is a mechanic of its own, like you do want buffers and everything like that. But if I really have to use that as an example, I would like to point out Rei, because her entire mechanic or her gimmick is that she exhausts cards, but she also heals based off of damage. The only other characters that do this is like Narya, but she does it on a stack basis, so she doesn't actually use it in the same way. And I think that's probably a really important distinction, or not probably, it is a very important distinction. It's an important distinction because it creates independence or uniqueness between the characters. So if they wanted to try do something similar to this in the future, I would think that you don't have to focus solely on making a new mechanic and making a new character every single time. I think it's fine to just make an alt that does some of their stuff slightly differently, or at least allows them to facilitate other different types of playstyles. Like, imagine if we had Tressa post-nerf or whatever, because now she can no longer create her healing daggers, and we have Tressa at this point where you can not just go for healing daggers, but maybe there's a weakened version that, like, anytime she's healed twice, she creates a new dagger or something like that. At least giving us the option or the availability to bring in more cards to determine whether or not we want to do it, because I think maybe it's just a translation difference, but when you look at Tressa's cards, Some of them say like Agony Imprint. What was it? It was like Gouge, I think was the name of the card, that allows you to weaken an enemy and add to Agony. I don't remember what its initial one was, but I think at least with some of these characters, you could 100% make like really interesting mechanics even more interesting by adding on like supplemental epiphanies and so on. So I don't know if they're going to take the route of, oh, an alt character will have a completely different playset of cards, or if they'll take the route of, okay, we've got this character, how do we add more epiphanies? Maybe they add different epiphanies, or have them take a completely different route and use a different, I don't know, element, is it called in this game? I'm not sure. I would at least kind of want all of the characters to maybe stay the same element. I don't know if this is a selfish thought or not, so that each character reigns within their own element and you don't have like a whole bunch of characters doing the exact same thing, or okay, I'm using an instinct character that provides me shield, but now they've got an alt that provides me shield, but they're instead in passion. So then I'm only using this character and only this character because they're the best one in slots for every single code or every single element, whatever it's called. I worry that that would eventually become the case, because in a PvE game where you don't have to swap out your characters as much, I mean, I'm enjoying the game playing like basically the same 3 characters over and over ad nauseum. I think if you don't end up swapping out your characters that much and you keep seeing the same ones over and over, maybe, just maybe, like, I don't think it's that good. Like, I don't know. I don't know. At least when it comes to my experience with something like Nikke, getting characters that are alts of other ones but are in completely different scenarios but of different elements is kind of fine, because the way they've designed the game is that you've got solo raids, and then you've got like union raids and so on. You have to use a lot, and I mean like a lot of characters within a specific element in order to even get close to either performing well or to dealing enough damage. So even if you have like 3 of best in slot for a given element, you still need more. Like ideally you would be playing 5 teams of 5, so 25 characters of just best in slot. So you can never have too many, which is why I think that, at least for Nikke, it's a little bit of an exception that they can have a whole bunch of characters and have alts that all do different things with different elements, because you're going to be playing so many anyway. But for Chaos Zero and Nightmare, where I feel like the roster is smaller, where they're going to be focusing more on individual character uniqueness and, so to speak, like card archetypes, I think that's going to matter a whole lot more, and I would like to see what they do with alts, that hopefully instead they decide to optionally, kind of, sort of, maybe, choose to keep characters unique to their identity without having to have a different element version that's like flat out better. At least that's my hope, right? I would want them to maintain Reen being who she is without giving her a passion element version that's just like flat out better or flat out upgrade. Or maybe she does something completely different, but then I feel like, okay, are you reinventing the wheel? You don't have to do that. Either way, I'll still be happy because I'm playing the game, right? It's just more so, I like the game enough to want to say that I hope it does what I want it to. And now it's really easy for me to say that, because I could also say, well, I hope in Season 3 they add 200 new cards. But, I mean, that's a bit far-fetched, isn't it? So, my hope, at least, is that we'll get a whole bunch of alts that will play into this sort of stuff, that will continue to thrive on the uniqueness of individual characters rather than focusing on trying to make all of them so different and then just create alts that do the exact same thing but in a different element with slight card variations. I really hope that doesn't become the case. And I was thinking, now this is purely hypothetical, that for next season, maybe what they'll do is focus more on enemy intents. So they've done right now, with the arena mode, is conditionals to drawing cards or creating cards in hand. Maybe a cool element or aspect of the game could be to focus on enemy intent. So like if an enemy has an intent to attack, it generates some kind of shield. Maybe you can swap the intents of enemies, force them into performing some kind of action for a turn. That would be really powerful, but I think you could kind of balance it out. There's this one card currently in the new Chaos, which is, oh, what's it called? It's one that allows you to... Oh no, now I'm blanking. I tried thinking of the name and I've immediately forgotten. What am I on about? Gosh. Sorry, I've just completely short-circuited. There's this one card. Oh yes, now I remember. There's this one card in the new season and the new Chaos manifestation that if you have triggered healing, damage, and shield all in the same turn, it removes unusable and allows you to activate it. And I can't remember exactly what it did, if it allows you to like activate any card in your draw pile at 0 cost. But that is such a cool mechanic. And I think if they were to do anything, it should be to add more cards like that. Not just because it's like strong, if you can pull it off by having a pretty well-rounded team, but also because if you have more cards like that, and you persist these throughout the seasons or throughout play, that I feel like you could have the potential for what I was describing earlier as a somewhat Yu-Gi-Oh-ish kind of experience, even though it's PvE, that you build into giant combos by making sure you qualify for certain conditionals in your deck, and it's like, okay, well, I've activated my healing, my shield, my attack, and now I can activate any card in my deck, so I decide to activate this other card, I don't know, that generates 2 new cards in hand that allow me to draw into other cards. So you just keep cycling through, and yeah, it does become a little bit overpowered, but we're playing a PvE game. I don't see any issue with genuinely just making like really, really powerful decks. Because what we've been seeing from Season 2 is that it seems like there's going to be less focus on trying to perform player retention in terms of, oh, you need to grind these 3 characters 75 times to get the absolute most perfect deck imaginable, and instead it's more a case of, okay, we're giving you the tools to reduce the amount of grinding massively. And that I really like. I like the idea that I'm able to just boot up the game, load a character, and already I have the ability to level up that character exactly to whatever the level the Chaos needs it to be. So I forget what it was called, but it adjusts the level from like level 1 to level 58 if you're on Codex level 10. And then also raises potential based on that. But if you were to do something like that, like now how we have with the flashes of potential that allow you to select between epiphanies, I think that can be extended towards even more. Not to reduce the amount of grinding, but you produce more elements in the game that is worth grinding for to have multiple decks. And I think Spiral Tower of Screams is a really, really good implementation of that. I know some characters on the... Some characters on the tier list, at least from what I saw briefly, are ranked really, really high, simply due to versatility, that you can build like 7 different decks and that you don't have to invest as many resources, but it feels like, ironically, a very good thing for a game if the reason why you have a meta list or a meta tier list is more because, it costs you less in the long run to, please don't do this to me. Oh my gosh. I've used up all of my hourglasses. It feels like a really good drawback, so to speak, that the downside of your game is that people have made tier lists for who is the best character to invest into because it'll save you investment materials or because they're just that versatile. Like, it's not this character is simply way more higher damage dealing, but these characters serve their utility. Like, I think Spiral Tower of Screams is a good example, and is the reason why I bring this up, because it gave Magna what I think is a really good purpose in terms of counterattacks, not only because this season got a whole bunch of extra stuff as well, like, you know, 9 being essentially the perfect support or perfect DPS to pair with Magna, but rather because Spiral Tower of Screams, if you just play Magna, just have her as a unit on your team, you gain so much off-turn damage that you can then deal. So with the counterattacks, dealing damage to all enemies, because it's going to take you so many turns, like, it's at minimum going to take you 5 turns as you rotate through every single one of the waves. But let's just say that you take, let's say that you take 1 turn for every single wave. You somehow manage to beat every single one of them on your first turn, every single wave. Even then, I think characters like Magna have the ability to shine, because you're always doing a counterattack at some point. Like, if you end your turn, you are guaranteed a counterattack by that point, but you're building up a bunch of upgrades to be able to use throughout your, like, stages or floors in the Spiral Tower. So one of the builds that I was kind of hoping, kind of wanting to do, and I will do it once I'm done grinding out the Zero Systems upgrades, is trying to grind for that monster card Dominion, where for every turn that passes, gain +1 morale, because oh my gosh, you can have such ridiculous builds dealing insane amounts of damage. Like, I managed to get through most of the tower using what was essentially an upgrade slash morale boosting counterattack deck, where I play Magna, I use Dominion, and then I just keep stacking on a whole bunch of all of her upgrades and every single upgrade card I can. And eventually, by the time I'm at the last enemy, the final boss or whatever, every counterattack is like sapping a fifth or a quarter of his bar. And I've got 10 counterattacks per turn. Like, I just can't be stopped. I'm invincible. So, if anything, I think it's added a lot of versatility in that sense, and I'm really happy that that's the case, because it's given characters more than just, you have to deal damage fast, and that's the only metric in which, or by which, we evaluate whether or not this character is good. So, I think, all in all, that's a pretty big positive, I'd say. Besides that, I don't know. I would think maybe the soundtrack is something that I've not paid much attention to. The voice acting I really, really love. It is kind of jarring, kind of nuts, how realistic the screams in Chaos Zero Nightmare is. I know that's like, oh yeah, it's kind of obvious because they scream so much, but it's really good. Like, genuinely, I don't know, I'm just so shocked by it. It's a crazy statement to make. The screams in this game sound so realistic, but I don't know. Some of them give me goosebumps. So, I think that's gotta stand for something. Yeah, besides that, maybe... As for a future character, I'm trying to think of what a future character would be cool to have. I kind of want a character that focuses on intents. I know I just said that in Season 3 it would be really cool to have stuff that focuses on enemy intents, but if you could have a character that focuses on somehow not changing intents, but gaining different effects based off of intents, that would be pretty cool. Because that's already a lot of versatility in terms of how you want to design their cards, and I think Nine's main selling point is the fact that she does have a lot of versatility by virtue of having so many different epiphanies that allow her to play into so many other characters' kits, which I think means people want to have kits that do a whole lot, but also play into a whole lot. So, if we get a character that can depend on intent, I don't know, maybe it's like, if an enemy is going to attack, that you instead gain shield, or you can give an epiphany that when an enemy is going to attack, you gain a certain amount of counterattack. Something like that, I think, would be pretty cool. Oh gosh, I got a Divine Intervention, but this is exhausting 2 other cards. I don't know if I want to keep that. I think I'm... no. Vulnerable. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, let me just drink some tea. I just don't stop talking. Oh yeah, I recently started watching Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Danmachi. I know this is a completely different topic that we're jumping to, but I just felt like mentioning it. I've read, I think, 15 of the light novels, so 15 of the books. And only recently did I get into watching the show. I don't know why that was the case, why I never got around to actually watching the show, but I'm really quite enjoying it so far. I did recently finish, what was it, Ragna Crimson, and that one was also really good. I was surprised to see that Square Enix was the publisher to that one. It's a story about a boy living in, like, an apocalyptic world ruled by dragons. It's a little bit gory and quite bloody and everything like that. Plus, there's a whole lot of dark themes and so on. But man, it was genuinely really, really good. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it that much, as well as The Cautious Hero is Overly Cautious. Also a really, really good show. Its plot twist was wild. It's meant to be a comedy, but oh my gosh, I loved it for more than just being a comedy. It was like, asobi asobase, but fantasy oriented. So I've been really getting into watching a whole lot more anime as of late. Not for any particular reason as I think about it. Actually, trying to think about it, I don't know what spurred it on. I think I just wanted something to watch while I was eating or doing something else. And I just had the thought, maybe I should go through my backlog. So I just began watching every single fantasy anime that ever graced the planet. And I've been going through in order of release dates and in order of score. And I don't know, it's been really good. I've been watching shows that I never got around to. I've been watching shows that I kind of expected, oh, maybe I won't enjoy, that I did end up enjoying. And I feel like going about that is probably the best. I find it quite difficult to get into something whenever it's really popular, not because it's popular, but rather because it feels like everyone and anyone is talking about it, and what I'll have to say will just be echoing it. Nothing necessarily wrong with that, right? Like, of course, it's a really popular show, and in that case, like, yeah, everyone does want to talk about it. I myself am rewatching Death Note this time, and JP with subs and also completing it this time. Yeah, like, going back to rewatch old shows or just wanting to watch shows that had already ran years ago, I feel is like looking back into a time capsule in some sense. I don't know, like, I was listening through my really, really old anime opening and endings playlist, and Future Diary came on, and I was so shocked. I was like, wait, oh my gosh, these songs are so good. Baylan is like an incredible singer for these. I've neglected, and I've neglected watching anime for some years, lol, so I want to go back into it again. Yeah, for sure. I absolutely get that. And I feel, I don't know, I think this whole binge that I've been going on for the past couple of weeks is probably why I feel this way. Like, I've been watching so much, I've been consuming so much of what I want again, and like rewatching some old shows, and it feels like a time capsule because, damn, shows were really different. Or maybe it's just like, how did no one talk about this, or why did I never see anyone talk about this? And it got an anime, and because it got an anime, it also has manga and it has light novels that you can read through. Hello, Solstix, how's it going? Well, well, well. What's with the pain emoji? I haven't failed you, have I? By playing Chaos Zero Nightmare instead of Devil May Cry? I chose this because I figured it would give me a lot more chance to talk about things that I'm doing and playing. As opposed to Devil May Cry, where I scream because some enemy is beating me up and I can't can't beat them. Like, when I got to that, oh my gosh. I'm still in shock that I managed to beat that elevator secret mission. That part was so difficult. I don't know how many tries I spent on it, but I know that I spent at least like 2 hours trying to get it done, because the enemies, they've all got Devil Trigger, or they've all got that knockback resistance, and man, talking about old anime because it was so good back then, yeah, right. I mean, it's one thing to say that anime has become worse, because I don't know if that's the case. I feel like there are still so many good shows that come out, but some of the shows that stuck out in early days of anime are just so good. The ones that survived the test of time genuinely survived the test of time. Like, they were ridiculously good. It makes me think that maybe I should go back and rewatch like even more, but my backlog is already so long, and I'm already trying to go through like every single fantasy show that I missed earlier on. So I was just mentioning that I had watched oh yeah, let's do it. It's gonna be exploration progress. I had mentioned that I watched Ragna Crimson, The Cautious Heroes Overly Cautious, and now I'm watching Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, because most of my like experience with some of these has been reading the light novels or reading the manga. So what ended up happening to me, because I had like a little bit of a weeb phase, and I guess a little bit is an understatement. I had a weeb phase and I'm now back in it, but the main thing is that I read so much manga. I read so much manga and I read so many light novels that now being able to watch the animes that came as a result of that, and especially at that, multiple seasons, is kind of nuts. Like, I don't know why I didn't do it, but I guess I was just holding it in myself. I'm still reading Danmachi. I don't need to watch the anime. Oh, I wasn't sure if the anime was that good, whatever. But now watching it, I'm enjoying it way more than I thought I would. And I don't know, maybe I'll revisit some of the other like books or light novels that eventually got animes. There's this one that I really liked. I read the light novel for as well. It was not an isekai, but it's about this guy who becomes a beta tester for this unreleased computer game. And in this unreleased computer game, it has him taking care of a village, and he doesn't realize it, but when he speaks, he can like convey to people in this village as if he were a god of the game and whatnot, and they begin listening to him. And he begins receiving offerings from people in the village, and they show up as Amazon packages or whatever at his doorstep. And so he's like, oh my gosh, am I being like rewarded for helping this? And gradually he finds out that these people aren't just NPCs. What has happened is he's become a beta tester for trying to raise a fantasy civilization or whatever. So it's a really cool, like, this guy learns to, because he's a NEET, he doesn't know how to take care of himself and whatnot, and so he just plays games all day, and he really loves RTS games and so on. He then begins to learn to take care of others and becomes really responsible, and he's like, oh, I have to work out, I have to be better for these people who think that I am their god, and so on. And then it's a little bit of a spoiler, but eventually, in order to save the village, they send someone as an offering to him, and they show up in an Amazon package at his doorstep, and he's like, what the hell, aren't you from the game? And they don't know how to react, and I won't spoil in case like it ever becomes an anime, but it is such a good read. I really, 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 really liked it. I think there was only 4 novels to it, or 4 entries into the series at the time, so here's hoping there's more. And it was the same thing like way back when I was watching or reading Danmachi. I read like 15 of the novels, and then around like the 10th one or so they announced the anime, but I was like persistent. I was like telling myself, no, only once I read the entire thing will I actually watch the anime, and then I never got around to it. Never ended up doing it. So I'm still going through that entire backlog. I don't know what my next one will be, but there was, oh my gosh, thinking back on it, I was also reading like Little Witch Hat Atelier. That one's really good, and I heard that one was getting an anime or is getting an anime soon. I can't wait for that one. But there is this one. There are some manga which are just so insanely good that never seem to get an adaptation or that get put on like a permanent hiatus. One of them had really good arts. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it's really difficult. It was some kind of play on words with like serpent and not servile. What's it called? What's the snake? It's serpent and servile. I don't know. It had some kind of combination. It's basically a manga with a European-ish interpretation, but with like Japanese magic systems still. So they've got like the standard fireballs and like fairies and so on, but they've got European like dragons and monsters and everything, and really, really grand landscapes. And the mangaka for it is like insanely talented. He draws so well. It's nuts. I absolutely love the art to it. And unfortunately, I guess because of how difficult it is to draw, because of how detailed it is, he only puts out like a chapter once a month that I'm able to read. Hey yo, Helios, HS, how's it going? How's it going? We're just discussing manga and light novels and all of those things. I mean, this is my, what's it called? Talking game and whatnot. So, I don't know, getting a chapter once a month, it breaks my heart. I wish that I could get more chapters rather than just once a month. But I mean, that's the same thing with like Hunter x Hunter. I've been following that for over, I mean, more than a decade. I was watching the 1999 version of Hunter x Hunter, the anime, and my gosh, that one was so good. I started this game again yesterday, so of course I'm looking for streams to get some input. Oh, for sure. If you've got any questions about the games, then feel free to ask. I play this maybe way too much, and I don't do it to like grind out good decks. I do it just because I really, 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 really like the roguelike features that they've added to it. It's a lot of fun. But also my luck is terrible, so I might not be able to help you with some characters. I've failed Pity every single time. I failed the coin flip every single time. So, kind of ask at your own will or your own discretion. Like, especially, I got 4 copies of Luke, I think it was, before I managed to get, like, anyone else. I've got, well, now I have quite a few because I did spark for Yuki, I had to spark for Sereniel, and I had to spark for 9, but I failed every single one of them. Though I still, somehow, do have enough currency for yet another spark, so maybe there'll be that. Yeah, I just lost the coin flip on 9. Yeah, I don't know what to buy in the shops would be good info, I guess, for now. Okay. In terms of what to buy from the shops, I would probably say the monthly pack is always going to be your best bet, not pat, what? It's going to be your best bet just because it's, well, value for money if you're ever going to spend money on a game. I would maybe say you don't need to. I'm not entirely sure how much you intend to play and whatnot, but at least with the amount that I play, which is obsessive amounts, whether or not you go for that or not, you can build up quite a decent amount of sparks. I mean, like the exchange shop for in-game currencies. Ah, fair, fair, fair. Yeah, in that case, then I would say there's the monthly store, and for that one, you want to be playing the Zero system to get the 5 anchors for both standard and event banners. Then you've got the Prism ones, which are kind of free because you don't need them. They just give you like free 4 stars. Or no, not free 4 stars. They give you free 3 stars, but they give you the like glossy background. These things. Where is that? Where is that? Why won't you show me? This. They give you the glossy background. So doing the Prism rolls, those are kind of fair. Then you've got Orbs of Discord, which also work in a monthly basis where you can spend to get a certain amount of pulls. Then you've got the store, in the current event, which gives you, I think, 10 of each as well. And then you've got the login bonuses. Right now, I think the most consistent thing for just pulls in general has been consistently logging in. But if you're trying to get general currencies, then you basically have to play every single mode, which sounds like a lot, but they do give you quite a big grace period to do that, I think, anyway. But then again, as mentioned, I play way too much of this. This has become my main gacha, and it's what I play the most of. So, your luck may vary. But definitely, Orbs of Discord, clear out the zero system so that you can get the free pulls from getting it to, I think, level 50. Then do the... what's it called? The Battle Pass. For now, I need another 68 pulls to get 9 in the 2 weeks her banner is up. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty difficult, but good luck. I think it's possible, though. If you've not used any of the, like... I don't know when you got back into it, but if you haven't used... Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm just thinking. I'm gonna go now, take care, bye-bye. Bye-bye, take care, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thinking about it, there should be about 10 rolls for logging in consistently. Then you've got another 10 rolls from the event shop. Yesterday, but it's a new account. Okay, yeah. If it's a new account, you've got plenty of time, I think. My old one was gone, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, but login bonus will at least net you about 20 for each currency, I think, because of the week 1. Then when you get to level 50, you're going to get a bunch as well. Then you're going to get some as login bonuses. So login bonuses gives you about 10. Event rewards is going to be about 30, I think, by the end of the season, but you'll maybe only be able to get 20. Then you're going to get another 10 from leveling up if you level up fast enough. You could probably do even more if you were to try and level up as fast as possible by using all those, like, Aether tiers or whatever they're called to restore your stamina. And then, I think that's about it. I think there will be a lot of crystals, but if you do some of the challenge missions and whatnot, then you're bound to get more crystals, and by that point, you'll probably have enough, I think. So, don't worry too much about it, I'd say. You'll be able to at least spark for her. It's still a grind, mind you, but not nearly as bad. Should I use my stamina potions, by the way, to push levels and get one more day of challenge in? That's sort of a good question. I think, yes, you should definitely... I'm level 23 right now, but I might be able to push to 25 with those tier things. Yeah, if you really, really want the currency, push as many levels as you can on all of the simulations, because you'll have to do them eventually anyway. So if it's like, oh, level 1 out of 10, just grind through all of those. You'll get, like, the bonus XP for doing it the first time, which then nets you even more XP and even more tiers to do the same thing and repeat that for the rest of them, so you can build up, like, a lot of momentum doing that. And that was how I got to level 50 pretty early on. Like, it only took me, I think, a week and a half? Something like that, yeah. So if you end up doing that, then for sure. Just go ahead and spend all the Aether tiers. But you may as well just grind for, like, 9's equipment and upgrade materials, if that's going to be the case. Because you're going to need it to level her up anyway, and you're going to need a lot of the combatant level up materials. I think it's about 150, 170 of them to get them up to level 100 or to level 60. And then you're going to need all the level up resources, which you'll also get through the event shop, but for most of which you'll also be grinding for, because it's not going to be enough from just the event shop. Yeah. I'm trying to think on what I did, but I'm, like, in the middle of Chaos Manifestation or the Divine Intervention, so I actually can't check right now. I would be able to speak way more on it if I knew what I was looking at. Yeah, right now the team I'm using is Amir, Kalipe, and the blue girl who's also in your team. Oh, Mika, yeah. She's really good. Mika is stupidly good for just AP regen in general. Kalipe I feel like she did get a buff this patch, and I can't 100% say for sure say, because I didn't have her before this patch. But people were saying that Calliope feels like she wasn't that strong in the end game or in later Chaos manifestations, but I'm not entirely sure if that's the case, because she looked like she had a lot of good card draw and a lot of strong card effects. So it makes me think like maybe people are thinking of her as the same as Reen, because they said that Reen wasn't that good. And I don't know, I really like Reen. I'll show you my deck for her because I'm always proud to show that off. I have her because I lost the coin flip on 9. You know, the irony of that, or the coincidence in that, is that exact same for me. I lost the coin flip on 9, and I ended up getting Calliope from it as well. So, you're not alone there. I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing. I do want to try Calliope, though, because she's cute. She's a bear girl, isn't she? Could be wrong, but I think she's pretty cute. So, you know, at least what? You know what? I have her in my roster, and I'll build her eventually, because I like cute girls. I also have Kayron, but he's a dude, so he'll be a bench warmer. Exactly. Exactly. My man. I'm the exact same. I just want to have cute girls on my team. That's all I care about. Because I got 4 dupes of Luke when I was rolling on the standard banner, and I will never, ever let that die. I will also never... I hope I never get him again, okay? If I ever get him again, it better be as, like, the dupe that allows me to get whatever other character I want. My Calliope is 1 dupe as well. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's not, like, overly bad, but it kind of sucks, like, to get a dupe. I would, at least me, unless I really like the character, I would rather have a diverse roster of units than to have a very samey looking roster of units. So I don't really aim for dupes that often. I know that 9's dupe, the one where she can choose which target to exhaust by using her Fighting Spirit card, or Fighting Spirit card, is really good. But I don't know, a part of me just feels like, well, I want to save up because I don't know what this cat girl in the story is going to do. I don't know if it's so much of a spoiler, but there is a character that seems to maybe manipulate time in the story. And I'm really curious what her deck is going to be, or if it's going to be somewhat Protoss adjacent, like how we've had the characters been described. So I'm kind of saving up, and then I'll see, like, last day of 9's banner if that's what I'm going to go for. But as I was mentioning to someone else, what you should be wary of is whether or not it gets close to the end of Season 2 to Season 3, because then they said that there was going to be a seasonal summer event unit, or at least alluded to. Pulls seem really expensive in this game. That is sort of true. I think maybe I'm just a hoarder, so I don't feel it as much, because I don't aim for dupes, but I've been able to spark 4 or 5 times now without any issues. So I agree, but I think I've completely offset it by the amount that I play. I've done every single piece of, like, side content that I could possibly do, and that's why I don't think I'm affected by it. Because I've been able to spark 4 times so far, and I've not had any issue with wanting to get the characters that I want. It's probably... And it is expensive, mind you. Like, yeah, you would probably get more rolls overall in, like, other gacha games. But I feel like if you're only aiming for 1 copy at a time, that maybe it's okay. I can't really speak in terms of, like, what one's personal preferences are to how you judge something to be expensive as opposed to not. I've played some super generous gachas, and I've played some really, really greedy ones, like ones that you would have to go onto their website to even download the app, because it doesn't exist on the App Store. How important are the specific partners for the characters? Not at all. Some of them are really strong, yeah, sure, but I've never needed them. I don't even have a character-specific partner, so I've never used it, and I've managed to clear all content. And I got, I think it was either top 10 or top 20% in all of the Nebula distortions. I'm not, like, try-harding or anything like that. I'm literally just playing the game a whole lot. And I'm up at that point. And I think that's fine. I think that's okay. I'm not aiming to be really, really good or have a maxed out, super optimized deck. So I think that's about right. And on top of that, I don't have any, or at least I don't have a lot of dupes from my 4-star partners either. So there's that, I think is worth mentioning as well, that even though I do have my partners, some of them are level 4 or 4 stars, but I have no 5-star ones, and I don't have any dupes of my, or not a lot of dupes of my 4-star ones, and I'm managing, like, even outside of Divine Interventions, because this one's a level 91, level 92 Divine Intervention. Outside of them, I still managed to beat, like, level 122 Codices. And then in Spiral Tower, I can also still beat level 155 Spiral Tower Screams, that is. So, not bad whatsoever, I would think. But yeah, I would also say that dupes don't matter that much. Again, most of this stuff is PvE, so I feel like it's incredibly variable. Do you really want to, like, aim for the highest damage possible, or do you roll for a character because you like having them in your roster? And I feel like that's the main question instead. Because I like rolling for a character because they're in my roster, I want to play with their cards, and I don't need to perform the best. I don't know. Is the amount of damage I do even good? Maybe. I feel like 20% is maybe pushing it. Like, it's not the best, but it's not the worst at the same time. So that much is okay. Plus, I think the skill ceiling is going to be a lot higher because with all of the cards being added, with a lot of the builds being made and the builds being found, yeah, I like how 9 works from the maps. I could use her at level 40 in her event. She's really, really good. I'll mention this again because I see that, like, we're rotating through viewers and whatnot. I think 9 is an extremely unique character, not only because she's got, like, the whole exhaust whatever mechanic, but also because her kit is extremely versatile. You can take, for instance, one of the previous characters or some of the launch characters, and most of their epiphanies will focus on, like, 1 or 2 different things that they do well. So, for instance, if you take a look at Rey, she'll focus a lot on either exhausting more cards or dealing more void damage, and then you can have the arguable points like, oh yeah, she's also going to be focusing a lot on healing via damage now, especially with the update. She focuses more on that, because they replaced her plus 15% critical attack chance with now, what's it called? With 20% heal on attack for however much damage she dealt. So you can focus on 2 or 3 of those things. I would mostly say 2 because there's not really much else to it. No pun intended. But with Yuki, for instance, she's got the inspiration mechanic and she's got self-draw, and then she's got, like, AoE damage, but all or most of her cards have innate AoE damage applied to them in some way. How's your 9 doing multi-hits? I'm doing a Divine Intervention. Let me show you. Up here, gaze, I'm doing the Nihilum Divine Intervention. So I don't gain any save data, but I do triple the hit count of all of my attack cards instead. So you can build up some really crazy combos. So right now I'm going for an extreme Hue build with, and then I hope I'm gonna get Counter Blade with the trigger Hue once per turn, and then I'm going Magna, because I don't know, I love playing Magna and 9 together. They're my favorite duo right now, even if Reen is my favorite character. They're yeah, so as I was saying, so if you focus, for instance, on Yuki's cards, it's inspiration, AoE damage, and self-draw. But she's only got 1 card for self-draw, so no other epiphanies really go into that except for the trick card or whatever it was called. And in that case, there's, like, 3. So we'll be generous. We'll say that she's got 3 different, like, subcategories of things she can go into that she can specialize for. But if you take a look at 9, she's got an incredible amount of versatility. She has got counterattack synergy. So anytime someone counterattacks, you can activate Hue. or gain more damage dependent on the amount of allies with counterattack. She's got Ignition, so anytime a card is exhausted, you reduce the cost of cards, or that card. Then you've got just regular Exhaust, so if you wanted to pair her with a character to make, like Ray, to make a really small deck that you just draw through the whole thing every single turn, then you can absolutely do that as well with 9. Then you've got AoE damage by changing her hue into... Yeah, this is the one that I was just mentioning. Exhaust 2 other cards. So you can just build 9 to exhaust other cards and make a really small deck. This doesn't exhaust, by the way. You can create a really tiny deck with some good hand manipulation. And then you could just cycle through the whole thing every single turn. Super duper good. I usually go for Fatal Strike. And I could do this one as well for changing hue to its final level. Maybe I'll do that, because then... I don't know, I can show it off a little bit, the Incineration keyword. But those are just some of them. And then on top of that, she can have her build focus on shielding. She can have her build focus on her own counterattacks. Oh my gosh. I'm so dumb. Oh my gosh, I clicked through the event. No! I clicked through either event. Hello, Ashwin was here. How's it going? We're just discussing some of the characters and everything. I was talking about how versatile 9 is. So she can go into like, what, 5 or 6 different builds? It's like insane. She's got so much versatility, and on top of that, and this is a little bit of a drawback, I don't know how everyone feels about this or what everyone's thoughts on it are, but with defense-based damage, I think is kind of overpowered in this state of the game, because you build up a lot of defense, and the scaling on defense cards, so if I take a look at this, it'll show me. So 645% defense-based damage, or even just this one, 376 defense-based damage, is ridiculous in and of its own, because not only do you take less damage, but you also deal a ridiculous amount of damage, and when you get cards that say something like increase or multiply the final damage value by a certain percent, it's ridiculously good. I'm new to the game. Do you have any tips for someone starting out? I think I have like a couple of tips, but it depends on like how much you play. And the reason for that is that if you're going in the direction of I want to play with more characters, or I want to perform really well at the game, or if you just want to play the game, because I feel by virtue of this being semi-roguelike deck builder, you can get away with maybe more than you can in other gacha games by playing this just as like a regular gacha game, or as a regular roguelike game. So you just do a whole bunch of runs, you eventually build up a couple of decks, and then you grind out some stuff. But if I were to give some tips, let's say you want to gain as much currency as possible. My best tip for that is to use all of those like stamina refresh currencies. Get every single one of your simulation rooms from level 1 to 10, then just focus on that. Honestly, if it's about how I want to play, I want to build a team around Amir. Okay, yeah, so I can give advice on how you would build for a specific character. But yeah, just real quick, if you want to get as many rolls as possible, I would say focus entirely on using as much of your stamina regeneration things as possible until every single one of your levels in your simulation room are level 10, because you're going to get rewarded for doing first time clears, then do every single battle mission, etc. You can leave that on in the background. I still prefer design over every other character. I know why, Helios. Yeah, I can agree. I like Amir as well. Reen is my favorite, but Amir's design kind of lured me in. Yeah, but if you were to try and, let's say, build around a particular character, I love deck building, but is it worth it to grind runs early on? I'm still in account level 20. If you don't enjoy it, then you don't have to. You only have to do, if you want to, and now I say this if you want to as kind of a loose way of putting it. If you really, really do want to, I think you should play at least 2 Chaos runs a week, and that's it. 2 Chaos runs use up all of the, like, passes or whatever that allow you to get whatever's in the chest so that you gain extra XP, and then try to do that at the highest level possible, so the highest codex level possible, or event possible. So right now for Season 2, we've got, I forget what it's called, like something seeds or whatever. Try do it at the highest codex level possible, then get the rewards for that, and you'll level up really fast, and you just do that 2 times a week. Use it every single time. Doesn't matter what the artifacts are, you don't care about those now. You want to level up really fast, you want to get all of the rolls that you can possibly get. Once you hit level 50, then you also unlock the, let's say, full potential of your characters. Player count level 50, mind you, not character level count, because you want your characters to be at level 60 and whatnot for some of the other contents. So once you've gotten to that point approximately, I would then say you can maybe focus more, and of course, if you enjoy playing the game, just play more of the game, right? You'll earn experience and you'll earn more items that you can spend in some of the weekly stores. I'm pretty close to completing this run, so I'll like go through all of those things anyway. And through that, you'll level up really quickly. At least up to like no, sorry, not 50. At least up to around 40 is where I began to feel that I was slowing down a whole lot, and there was like the big tipping point, so to speak, the plateau. If you want to build a specific character, I would also say that grinding as much, not like as much as you can per se, but grinding a whole bunch in the beginning so that you can get to player level 50 will probably make it easier to build some of the characters that you want. So, for instance, and why I say this is now because for the divine interventions, they only come as a result of Codex level 10, and at Codex level 10, you have your mythic rarity codices, and those also have a chance on top of that to add a divine intervention, and divine intervention is a pure roguelike mode, but it quadruples your resource gains. So anything you do, except, I think, wait, let me double check. Can I see my drops, maybe? No, it doesn't seem like I can. It'll probably show me at the next resource point. But it quadruples the drops on Orbs of Discord, which is a weekly shop currency, and then it increases the drops on those like little eye currency. I forget what it's called. And even though that doesn't sound like, oh, that's not too great, the point is that you get a whole bunch of these orbs, you stockpile them, you upgrade your zero system to the maximum level possible. That gives you tools that reduce the amount of grind that you eventually have to do, which I'll also show once I get out of this, because if I leave now, then my run's over. And with Divine Intervention, there is no going back. As soon as you leave, the Divine Intervention is over. You either have to close the game and then immediately get back into it, or it's gone. It's roguelike in that sense. So no takesy-backsies. You reduce the amount of grinding that you have to inevitably do by being able to pick which character you want to create a duplicate card of, by re-rolling epiphanies, by reducing the costs, making training free, etc., etc. There's a whole lot of boons and benefits to just grinding out all of the resources on Divine Intervention so that you build up like a decent amount. So the strategy, I guess, to summarize my points, is that if you're new to the game and starting out and you really want to build a team around a single character or grind out a very specific deck, try upgrade the zero system. And if you just want to, I mean, team building is a little bit different in that sense. Is Tressa still playable now after her nerf? I really like her Agony playstyle. She's absolutely playable after her nerf. They've changed it. Okay, so this is the currency I'm talking about. Chaos Orbs, that's what they're called. This is quadrupled, and this is quadrupled. So you can see I have 12,000 just because I've been playing a stupid amount. I bought out everything with Orbs of Discord by this point. She is playable, and I think people's first and initial gut reaction was, oh, Tressa's basically unplayable now because she no longer has an infinite combo for healing herself to gain multiple attacks. As far as I understand, every character build is playable since it's a PvE game. Exactly. Exactly. Now, the difference will be that people might argue or make the point that, oh, but what if I want to get into some of the ranked content and now this character isn't as good anymore? Should I reset them? Should I invest into someone else? In a sense, I think it's actually doing you a service, and I know this is contentious, right? I think it's doing you a service to remove these infinite loops. Thank you for following, Ashwin. It's doing you a service to remove these infinite loops, because what ends up happening is it gears players towards a very singular playstyle, which means that you... Also, thank you, Helios, for following. Really appreciate it. It gears you towards playing a very singular, well, playstyle, where you end up playing the same deck as the top players rather than trying to experiment or find new decks. And in a game like this, where they're trying to introduce more and more new cards and more complexities to make the game more difficult to find a given meta, I think is good. So the issue with Tressa as how she was when she had the Healing Shadow Dagger is that you look at the top 1,000 players of the previous Nebula Distortion, no one was using anything but Tressa Healing Daggers. At least now, you can gear her half towards going for an Agony build, or half towards going like a higher damage Agony build. She's still playable in that sense. She's maybe not as good, because obviously you remove an infinite combo and suddenly the character isn't as good, but that's like a little bit of a given. It's the same thing with Cassius. He was never made or never intended to be as ridiculously strong as he was with Sereniel, but the issue with him and Sereniel is that you could bring him up to, and I think when I was doing it, about 5,000% damage on some of his cards. It's nuts. Like, if you even slightly geared him towards damage, and you got into that infinite loop with Sereniel, you were able to basically crush any and every single boss, and that's how people got into billions of damage on the first, mind you, the first ever Nebula Distortion. That, I think, was like a warning sign, if anything, that they really need to scale it back. So at least it was now and not later, to where people had grown overly attached to it. So in that sense, and I know, as said, contentious, I think it was good that they removed these infinite loops. Another example of this being... oh no, I already went over Tressa and I already went over Cassius. I was about to go back into the exact same thing again. I'm repeating myself. But yeah, point being... if you want to then build a team around some of these characters, at least they're not slotted into the exact same formula every single time. The whole point of this is that you're meant to be building different decks every single time, and that's exactly why they've changed the cost system for the monster cards. So monster cards are no longer 80 for every single one that you pick up. Instead, it's going to be, I think it was 20, 40, and 60, which means that you can actually have monster cards in your deck now without it being an issue. So I really like that. It's still expensive, and they did change one of the more broken ones, which was the Fox one, where it duplicates a card in your draw pile and then exhausts itself, so now you have an extra copy of it. That was really, really busted, and that one you could use to absolutely break the game. I think people were playing with that monster card in Cassius's deck, or they would reduce Cassius's deck to a point where it was just like Joker cards and the Dice Trick card and something Popper, whatever it is, his quest card. So, insofar as that concerns itself, it's probably for the best. And I know it sucks. I 100% do. But I think it's for the better. We don't want, like, overpowered cards this early into the game, otherwise every other card or every other character is going to feel undermined by someone that can do an infinite loop. And I think we'll get into what I like to call the Yu-Gi-Oh! Situation, where you have an infinite loop of just ridiculously powerful cards that make you infinitely strong and end the game, and, like, going first nets you a, what was it? Was it in 2024 they did a stats tally? You have an 87% first turn win rate, which is not that great. Oh, what the hell? The contrast just increased massively. No, okay, I've got plenty of gold. So, in that sense, I think it's pretty good. I don't think we have to necessarily worry about that happening again. I think they'll be more concerned with it. But team building, I guess, is another early beginner's tip. And that one's really difficult, I think, to try and describe, because team building as just like a skill comes as a result of playing card games generally. But I guess some pointers for it, at least in my mind, would be you always want to try play as if this is an RPG because you're going to have RPG stats. So you want to have a damage dealer, you want to have a healer, and then you can either have a support or another attacker. In terms of that, I would say Tressa is really good now as a between of support slash attacker. Mika is an insane free unit. She generates AP like no tomorrow. She can basically keep you playing the exact same cards over and over and over again, or until your hand is completely empty, as you saw with some of the wave build that I had there. I could go through every single card in some builds. I can show what mine looks like after this, but I have a build from Mika, which is just every card generates AP, and every card draws me another card, so I can loop through my deck really easily. And then I have other characters which pull off something quite similar, like with Reen, who draws 2 of her own cards, gives herself 1 AP anytime she does that, and then also gains Dark Mist stance whenever I want it. So lots of really cool combinations as a result of that. And of course, it's sort of a matter of what epiphanies you get, but it's not only because of that. Oh my gosh, he's going to deal so much damage to me here. Sorry, I'm just going to have to think for a moment. I could try Morale, then do Hue. I'm going to try this one. Yeah, team building. Like, when I think of, and since it was brought up, when I think of team building with Amir, I would probably say your best bet is to play Amir with someone who heals, because you kind of can't avoid it, and I would say Ray in that case, because you still want damage output, since, at least early on, Amir is a bit difficult to use because she doesn't have as much damage output as you would expect. I tried playing her in the beginning, and I just couldn't get a good build going with her, and that was like my main issue. Now with 9, however, she facilitates her so much. Like, genuinely, if you were to play Amir, you could throw in 9 and that would be good. You'd be a-okay with that. So there are some characters that just make a character usable in that sense. Or, well, I don't want to say usable because they're all usable. It's a PvE game. But some characters really make a character more, well, okay, usable in certain niches. So if you were to ever play Amir as a DPS, 9 would facilitate that. And I think that's kind of the mindset that you want to go for. So anytime you try to pick out a character, you think of what weaknesses can this fill of this character I want to play. So for instance, when I think of building a team around Magna before 9 came out, I thought to myself, okay, if I were to build Magna, what would the best cards be that increase how much damage she can deal? And I think, okay, well, I want to be able to draw into Glacial Iron Fist. I want to be activating lead cards so that she gains her powers. Then I want to have a whole bunch of, like, damage reduction, but I also want a bunch of morale so that her counterattacks deal a lot of damage. So then I built a deck that focuses more around building up morale. So every turn, I build up morale using the Dominion card. Then her counterattacks also gain this buff, which then deal more damage. Then I also reduced her deck to be mostly lead cards, and I think it was just... I'll have to double check. It's definitely not as good as some of the other ones could be, but Magna's deck is mosely a I'm going to punch you to death kind of deck. So in that sense, she's not got a whole lot of cards. She's got a lot of lead cards, but it's also a matter of what artifacts you choose. Now, the reason why I say that team building in Chaos Zero Nightmare is really difficult is because they've got so... Did he really have to get rid of that card first turn? Oh my goodness. The reason why I say it's really difficult is because there are so many different card combinations, and there are so many different artifact as well as stat combinations that you can do. Again, it'll be way easier if I can actually show you once I get out of this. This is the final boss, by the way. With you until you die. Yeah, exactly. And now because of how... Oh, no, I don't have it in hand. Now because of how counterattack works, you can deal critical hits. So now you can build Magna towards a well, critical hit build. So something like, wait, why can't I activate anything? Oh, because it's 0. So now, for instance, I can kit Magna with critical attack stuff, get her an artifact that heals whenever I critical hit, and then for every single counter attack I do, I'm just regenning all of my health. So now you could kit Magna to become a healer in place of an actual healer with your final kit, which I think is kind of nuts. So there are a whole bunch of combinations, and that's exactly why. It's really difficult to say if what you pick is going to be the right choice or how you want to build a character. So first, when making a team or building a character, think of what build do I want to go for, or just play through Chaos and then see what build you end up with, and then think, how can I make this even better? So another example would be, if I look at Sereniel, I know that she deals a lot of attacks per turn. Is there a character that can, I don't know, buff those attacks or deal even more attacks or get an enemy into Ravage state? And that's Selena. Selena's kit focuses entirely on that. The ability to deal damage when another player attacks. And I think Veronica does a very similar thing with her ballista cards. And also you can use Cassius to draw into some of her cards, like the one that deals a lot of tenacity damage. And you can play with this thought the entire time. It's very similar, actually, now that I think of it, it's very similar to the thought process I have when I think about Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is maybe why I attribute it so much to being that. Yeah, this run looked pretty okay. I'm not going to get any save data from this, so I'm not worried about how much my Faint Memory costs, which is the overall cost of my final deck. But I can show some of the decks that I have, and what I mean when I say there's versatility with how you go about this. So, say for instance,
Sugoi!
we go to... none of these. I suddenly don't care. We'll pick this one. Yep. Combatants. We'll go over to Amir, just like to talk about examples, and we'll talk about our cards. What do you mean by cost of deck? Cost of deck, so if I go into any one of my given teams, like if I go into Simulation, and then I go into like Memory Fragments, whatever, it doesn't really matter. There will be an indicator down here at the bottom what my average cost is for my deck. And, oh, also Faint Memory. So whenever you look at a final deck created, there's two terms that I mean by this. I mean the Faint Memory cost of deck. Whenever you look at your save data, here you've got your Faint Memory. It doesn't show up in Divine Intervention, but depending on how you alter your final deck, it'll cost you a certain amount of points. And in that case, that's something that you should take note of. Yeah, Faint Memory. Basically, how much does your deck cost to play? And if you play on higher difficulties, you get to play with higher cost decks, or create higher cost decks. A very simple example is if we take, I think you should have the default deck. So this is what the default deck looks like. You've got Frozen Fist, Frost Shield, so these are your basic cards. You've got the one unique, then you've got the 4 epiphanies, technically 5 when you include the unique. If you remove a card, they've changed it a little bit, so I could be wrong. The first 2 cards that you remove cost you no Faint Memory, but the next one that you remove will cost you 40. So now that means that you have to play a difficulty of 4 or higher in order to use that deck for content outside of Chaos. Outside of the Zero system or Chaos manifestations. If you were to get an Epiphany, that doesn't add any cost to your card, but if you get a Divine Epiphany and you pick the Divine Epiphany will cost you an additional 10. So even though my Glacial Iron Fist, let's say this costs 0, I've got this exact same deck, if this gained a Divine Epiphany, my cost for playing this deck would be 10. Same thing with adding new cards. Adding new cards will, of course, add cost to your deck. Removing cards adds cost, adding cards adds cost, and duplicating adds cost. So I can take a look at some of the build decks that I have here. I've got a duplicate here, and this was before the patch, or maybe it wasn't. No, I don't think it was. I'm losing my mind. Sorry. Yeah, let's take this one. So I think retroactively, because I know I didn't beat 140, they've changed how some of this works. But this now is higher than I would have imagined. So what's happened to this one is it's had one basic card removed. That's 20 points. I've had three Divine Epiphanies, and especially on neutral cards, which has costed 20 for the card being included, then plus 10 for the Divine Epiphany, so 30-30, so 60. Then I've got a Divine Epiphany on this one, so then 70. And because I removed the card, then it was 80. Then I can't remember what happened in the last patch to say for sure, but I added 40, right? I added 40 somewhere. So eventually you find that as you play through a Chaos Manifestation that you'll build up Faint Memory, and it'll warn you. It'll say when you open up the pause menu that you've deleted X number of cards, your Faint Memory is this amount, and the easiest way to check how much Faint Memory you're allowed to bring in or to be able to use is dependent on, if I go to the Zero System, I'll click on Codex, and this is the one I'm on currently, 10, and this is tier 11 of my save data value. That means that your tier is multiplied by 10, and that becomes how much Faint Memory you're allowed to have your final deck cost before you eventually begin having to remove cards from it or remove the changes that you made to said final deck. So if I take a look again at Magna's save data, because let's say I went to my 141, it could be that I actually removed Frozen Fist and Frost Shield initially, but I didn't have enough Faint Memory. What the game then does is it calculates in order of priority and cost what is the fastest way that I can get back to being within the Faint Memory cost. And in this case, it decides to add back my my basic cards, each of them being, not only because I removed them, being a 41 each, but also because I have Divine Epiphanies, yeah, on these neutral cards, and those cost a lot. I think they costed more, actually, because they were legendaries. I could be wrong. But that's a simple gist, I think, of how the Faint Memory system works. And then, of course, once you build a team and you have, like, a full layout, if I go again back into any one of these, you will have an average cost of your deck, and that's just like summed up between everything. So your Chaos run wouldn't get saved if you have if you get more than the Faint Memory limit. Your deck would be saved, but it would begin reverting your changes one by one in an order of priority and cost. The priority list, to my knowledge, unless it's been changed, is basic card removal, so it'll begin re-adding basic cards, then it'll begin removing Divine Epiphanies, and then it'll begin removing unique, like, event cards from the season. However, if you have a monster card that's legendary, it'll immediately remove that to get below. So you could be fighting for your life to keep a monster card, and I'll show exactly one of these crazy good monster cards that you might want to hold on to, which is... not this one. This one. Yes, here it is. Dominion is a crazy good card. At the start of the turn, gain 1 morale. And this is permanent. It goes all the way through. It could be that your final deck ends up costing you like 180. The game then decides, you're not going to keep that. You're not going to keep that monster card there. That's mine now. And it gets rid of it. So keep in mind that if you want to create really good decks for endgame, it's probably best to play on the hardest difficulty you can, and therefore I think you should grind, because again, it'll make things way easier. And I can show you as well by going into the Chaos system, there are upgrades to this that make it easier. So all of these, yeah, you've got the basic damage output and whatnot, but if I look here, I've also got increased Divine Epiphany chance by 15%. That's really good, because now you can have cards that otherwise wouldn't draw. Does the duplicate card you get from the final boss count towards the fate count? Yes. The Faint Memory count is increased by the duplicate card that you get by defeating the last boss. I think they've changed it, so it's now the first duplication that you do doesn't cost anything. The second duplication will cost you 40 faint memory, and then the next one will also cost you 40 faint memory, and so will the third one. But they have, via the patch, introduced a cap. You can no longer get more than 4 duplicates. I don't think it was possible to get more than 4 duplicates during a single run, but I could be wrong. Maybe in like really rare circumstances. But they're probably doing that as like a preemptive measure, so people don't rock up with like 7 duplicate card decks. But yeah, the final one does count towards it, and it should be noted that by the time the last story comes out for the seasonal event, there will, like Season 1, I think, be more bosses to fight. So eventually, although we've only got 2 floors now, once the season continues and we get the final act, they will add 1 more layer, and then via the special events, it might say something like, I don't know, since it's an arena, challenge the champion of the arena or whatever, and then we'll get a new boss, and that will also grant you the ability to duplicate a card yet again. So I'm thinking that we'll get about 3 bosses, so you'll have 3 duplications. So if you really want to build a deck, it is technically better to wait. Technically. But you could still do it. You could still build the deck just at a lower probability. That's it. It's still 100% possible. The probability is, however, lower if you choose to do it at a lower level. And in the same case of this, I still don't have enough. I would really want to show what this one is. But one of the upgrade options here is to select a combatant and from them pick 3 random cards and choose and duplicate one of them. One of the ones that are chosen. You choose one of 3. Duplicate. Which is not standard otherwise. As you saw when I was beating the bosses, it chose 3 cards randomly across every single combatant, even the neutral cards, whatever, it doesn't matter, to duplicate. So you kind of want to aim for this one, the administrator mode, and then you probably want to aim for the authority expansion with this one. The meditation function allows you to re-roll epiphanies at campfires. They do, of course, cost more and more the more you use them, just like card removal. And then this one is more so for actual combat inside Chaos. You can probably go without this one. In fact, you can maybe just remove this and then focus entirely on this one if you want to build better decks. So here we go. Yeah, pick one of the combatants, and then you get 3, and then select one of them. Duplicate. So, yeah. Pretty good, I would say. Oh, yes. Oh, actually, this one is also new. They revamped the system, so I'm not actually familiar. Increase monster card acquisition rate. Ooh. That one's really good. We'll go to combatants. I wanted to show why you kind of want to roll or high roll for some of the Divine Epiphanies. Some of these are nuts, I will say. So I've got this insane deck here with Reen. I didn't at the time because I only had 120 points. I wasn't able to get rid of the 2 basic cards, but this deck is nuts. It's draw 2 cards of this unit, gain 1 AP, gain Dark Mist Stance, and it can draw itself, and you can basically loop infinitely if you can remove enough cards. It's well, you can loop through and play every single one of her cards at least once. It's really, really, really good. So you start off, you use all of Reen's cards, and then I've got the Dark Mist Inner Art so that she starts with Dark Mist Stance just in case, and so it thins out her deck because upgrade cards are like, I treat them like exhaust cards to me, meaning that I can basically circumvent having to draw them again if I can activate them early on enough. And then I play through her entire hand, then I move on to the next combatant. So she's really good as like a solo DPS, so I can check. Actually, I don't think I use her for any content. Now that I'm thinking about it. I can check what my simulation team for the Spiral Tower streams looks anyway. Let's check. So 135, and then yeah, I'm running this team. This was before the patch as well. I really like Magna. I love the whole counterattack gimmick. So that's mostly what I enjoy running. That, and because I kind of want to create more builds around Magna. I feel like the whole counterattack and combination with 9 doing her Hue attack whenever a counterattack is triggered is so much fun. And then this just like common item, activate 1 random lead card in hand, is nuts for being able to get through most of these. So I don't think this was the exact deck. No, I was playing with this one. Which, to be fair, doesn't run a whole lot of like lead cards and whatever, but I'm using this one when vulnerable is applied by a card, also apply 1 weaken, and because anytime I counterattack, I apply vulnerable, I also weaken them, and I also gain morale at the start of every single turn, then shield increase amount, and then extra attack damage, so all my counterattack damage is increased by 35%. So I can take her in either direction. And then now, because of the arena, you can make a build where you heal based off of counterattacks, though I think maybe I put that on Ray or someone. If I go to Ray, I don't think I actually have like a final deck built out for her. But yeah, this is just a standard exhaust draw deck. No, that was previous seasons. We've got, that was also previous seasons. There must be one of them somewhere here. The deck, in essence, was made to have critical attacks heal, and through that, I would... Because this card used to be plus 15% crit rate, and then I would build up... I think I've swapped out some of her memory fragments as well. Yeah, so I don't have her crit rate one. Yeah, I don't have her crit rate one anymore. I focus on healing with it. But with high enough crit rate, you would just heal anytime you attack, which is really good. So that's kind of how I played it. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm about ready to... I usually stream 2 hours a day, but I've gone a little bit overtime. But does anyone have any questions? Does someone want to raise their hand and ask a question to the class? I can perhaps give you an answer. Otherwise, I think I'm gonna wrap up. I'll give like, I don't know, a minute if someone has any ideas of things they might want to ask before I'm done. Oh, but I can quickly run through all the shops and everything. So for weekly, 100%, you want to go through these things. You can go for all of the boss items, all of the rolls. That's why you want lots of these Orbs of Discord. Then in the exchange shop, always go for this Prism Lens, then save up for this one. Thanks for the help. I'm really starting to get into the game. I really hope you like it. And I do hope you join for the next time I stream Chaos Zero Nightmare, or any one of my other streams. Like, really into. I'm really glad to hear that. Honestly, I love this game to bits. It is so much fun. It's crazy how good this game is in actuality. Like, just as a game and not just as a gacha. Then for this, also monthly limit, you want to try get that. The Undetermined Ego Crystal is used for leveling up potential nodes to level 10. I would say it's not super important. You'll get a couple of them. I don't end up using all of them. It might be good to have, but I would say get duplicates instead. Get duplicates instead of the partners. Okay, is there a trick to the challenge boss? Which one do you mean? The current Nebula Distortion one? And for this, I would say never, ever, ever use the moments on the anchors and whatnot. Instead, go for egos. I'm level 30, it's recommended 20, but I fail every time. Oh, wait, do you mean... Do you mean these ones, the challenge bosses? Are you meaning Fear Encountered? Because that one I can understand being really, really tough. It's hard to make an auto build for this one. So, like, even I'm only on 7, but I also don't, like, really bother. I just do the auto, and that's what I leave it on. The Wailing Prodigal. Okay. For this one... Oh, it doesn't have my team that I used to clear it. Let me check. Can we see... Oh. The Pier. So, gain Phlegm every turn. Damage taken reduced by 70%, decreasing 1 by each time you're attacked. At phase 2, all phlegm turns to viscous skin. Viscous skin grants coagulated phlegm every turn. Congealed phlegm. I think this is what it was meant to translate into. When phase 2 begins, all phlegm is converted into congealed phlegm. When congealed phlegm reduces incoming damage by 70% and decreases by 1 with each hit. If coagulated slime is removed, the target is stunned for 1 turn and loses all of his skin. So immediately to me, what stands out is you want to do multi-hits. I think, of course, it would be easy to say, just use Sereniel, just use Sereniel, but I don't think you have the seasonal unit. You could use... I don't want to give 5-star recommendations. I know not everyone has 5 stars. Mei Ling is a really good choice. Sereniel is a really good choice. Selena as a 4-star, if you can get this card, if it loads, there we go. High power scope. This version specifically of the Epiphany, for AoE I use Owen. But that's a boy. I don't want to use boys. For 1 turn, when an attack card of another combatant is used, 100% coordinated attack to the target. For that is really good to do multi-hit. So you can, with Selena, get rid of at least 1 extra stack of phlegm by doing that. I only have Calipe and Chiron 5 stars. Then I would maybe say... Tressa, because you want multi-hits. Then possibly Selena. And then Cassius, if you can make some kind of healing drawing build. So there's this one build that I have for Cassius, which makes him really viable in a lot of content. And it is... oh, here it is. It's this one. When an attack card is used, gain 20% fixed shield 10 times per turn. Then you pair him with Tressa, so that if you can build up a whole bunch of Shadow Daggers, you basically get 200% fixed shield every single turn, and you don't take nearly as much damage. And because you're doing multiple hits, you can break through the phlegm damage reduction. So try a build with Cassius, Tressa, and maybe just see how it goes. Like, you can throw in like 1 flex slot, like it doesn't really matter what your last one is. Maybe more damage dealing, so once you take down the phlegm, then you have really high cost cards. Or maybe you want some more survivability, in which case you go for I don't know if I would say Amir for shielding, because really you want to try deal enough damage, but also a lot of damage. You could try go for Selena to add on to that. Tressa also have that great AoE epiphany of Shadow Reload. Yeah, and her Shadow Daggers work a little bit differently now. So what you could do, actually, you could make... I'm curious, have they changed what this looks like? Yeah, they have. Okay, so now it's changed to Exhaust All. It's not as great. So, let's see. Yeah, creates 1 advanced Shadow Dagger. Now is 002 Agony damage amount for the Agony on the target. I'm trying Selena right now. Yeah, good luck. Hopefully that works. But I think what you would probably play is a damage Agony build. You would remove Phlegm, then immediately use Advanced Shadow Dagger while you've built up the most amount of Agony stacks possible, and hopefully that gets you through. If that doesn't do it, then of course there are multiple ways to make your character stronger. Not only is it synergies, but remember, this is also technically an RPG in the sense that you've got sets. You want to try upgrade these, you want to try get damage over time with Tressa, you want to try get critical chance or attack, and you want to try get void damage and so on. So you could also play Ray together for some healing. So you could do Cassius, Ray, and Tressa. Ray will try and exhaust cards while also dealing damage and healing. Will increase damage of basic cards. Then with Tressa, you attempt to do a whole lot of agony damage, and then with Cassius, you gain shield with that 1 mythic item, and you basically just grind through. Eventually, you'll find a build, but there are a couple. That was at least the one that I used, now that I'm thinking about it. It would be nice if it showed logs of the ones that I used, but this is what my Tressa looks like now that I still use. When a card is exhausted, increase damage amount of void cards by 20% for 1 turn, and then plus 12% attack. You can, of course, not limit yourself to the 4 sets if you really don't want to. You could remove these, and you could go for the, where is it? Critical damage one. And there's another one that I don't think she's got a cost 2 or more now, so maybe that doesn't apply. But if you want to, you can put on 3 2-sets, and you can increase your critical damage or increase your critical rate. Get the set that increases your critical damage by 25%, and then also get the one that increases your attack by 12%. And I think that would be good. Also, for potential, I think with Tressa, this was kind of in a time where I didn't know exactly what I wanted to build. Just see which one increases the Shadow Dagger. Okay, so Shadow Dagger is the unique one, I think, or Advanced Shadow Dagger is, and then basic one. You just go for these, and then don't forget the potential. Well, I haven't really upgraded her, but I still dealt enough damage. So, yep. But it's getting to be about that time where I end stream. Any last questions that will extend the stream? Any last questions? Perhaps? Also, here's my 3 dupe Luke, or 2 dupe Luke. Or I rolled him 3 times. I didn't like it. And then I have Hugo. My Calipe though, I got her recently when I was rolling for. Then I also got Chizuru. I don't know if I built her. I will see if I build Chizuru, because I'm not entirely sure. Apparently, I have. Oh no, I don't. Why was it? Okay, it's showing me a red notification here, but I'm not sure why it's doing that. Whatever. Okay. Looks like there are no more questions, and that means that it is about time for me to wrap up. So, now going to this solemn screen. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for both all of your questions and typing and comments and just sticking around. Even if you're just lurking or listening to this in the background, I'm still super appreciative of it. I stream every single day. Wednesdays is like a bit of a break. I wanted to try and mix things up with doing Chaos Zero Nightmare on Wednesdays and Saturdays instead of on Saturdays and Sundays, so that it creates some variance. Otherwise, I am playing through the entirety of the Devil May Cry series. Feel free to follow, send me $200 million, and tell me the 3 digits on the back of your debit or credit card, as well as giving me just a couple of things like your first pet's name and the street that you were born on. Jokes aside, you don't need to do that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Great stream. Thanks for the help. Of course, anytime. I'm always happy to help and to entertain and make silly noises, whatever it is. That being said, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.